So this video has certainly been making the rounds here from Kilotonics and talking about Hasan Bad. Now, I've done my fair share of shitting on Hasan Bad types, such as your Tectones of the world, your NuxTakus of the world, yada yada yada. Mostly because of their really terrible fucking political takes and the fact that they are obvious grifters who are looking to, well, essentially get at a new audience. For what purpose exactly? Because of their own sort of improprieties, right? That alongside people like Destiny, Ethan Klein, yada yada yada. But Kilotonics, with a 4-hour treatise on, if I were to basically say why Hasan Bad is, I would say, I guess for lack of a better term, fizzling out, and how the, shall we say, the arc, the essence, maybe not the essence, but the arc of Hasan Bad is more or less, shall we say, cresting. It's over, basically, right? And Kilotonics over here does a really, really good job going into very, very hyper-specific detail, very well researched out. It's a great video, very well put together. It was entertaining. I have nothing but praise for this video. I think he's done a good, very good job. And before anyone else likes to say, yeah, Kilotonics, I don't think is a Hasan simp. He certainly has a bit of criticisms for Hasan, like suggesting that you can have criticisms for Hasan, which is, by the way, pretty much the exact same position that I also take. Like, I think there are criticisms of Hasan that you can have. You can talk about how he's a bit of a dumbass. He seems to be like a little bit of a himbo, right? Even though he himself sort of self-admits. I think you can have a lot of criticisms of his geopolitics take, how he's a bit of a campist. Those are like, if you want to have like actual fucking like criticisms of Hasan, that's not the issue. The problem is, and as Kilotonics is going to get into himself, is the criticisms that, generally speaking, most people have about Hasan are deranged and schizophrenic, for lack of a better term. I'm not really going to mincemeat my words. It's unironic fucking schizo shit, right? And at the end of the video, Kilotonics does his own sort of assessments here of all of the claims that are around Hasan. And obviously, as expected, they're pretty much all misleading or just bullshit, which is what I would also say, misleading or fucking bullshit. I would 100% agree with him there. But mostly what I want to talk about is how, and also Kilotonics does a very, very good job at talking about all of the social faux pas that a lot of these content creators are engaging with, just specifically with Hasan. And I don't think he necessarily gets into the reasoning for as to why this is the case. I think I have a kind of a bit of an idea for as to why this is the case. I think it's purely because of the fact that these people, well, Kilotonics also does say this. For a bunch of these people, they do the grift that they do because they have another particular sort of thing, or let's just say impropriety, that you don't want people to, generally speaking, pay attention to. That's certainly the case for Tectone and NuxTaku, where we can certainly say that NuxTaku helps facilitate child grooming in, and I learned this actually from Kilotonics' video, in terms of early porn introduction to fucking minors, which is which is unironically fucking child grooming. So we can basically say that fucking NuxTaku is a fucking groomer. Tectone is a rapist, right? Obviously, he has that protective order against him granted to Pink Chew against him. As well as a lot of the other weirdos that we're going to be going over, such as Dan Saltman or Dan Stalkman, who I personally believe should be in fucking jail for the fact that he is, like, unironically just a fucking stalker, and he just admits to being a fucking liar. Like, yeah. The people who go after Hasan are just bad people. Period, end of story. Whereas with Hasan, really the biggest criticisms that you can have of him is that his geopolitical takes are kind of bad and that he's a bit of an idiot. And that's really about it, to be honest. So it's just like, okay. In the meanwhile, most of the people that are going after him are either clinically stupid, rapists, pedophiles, racists, and grifters. Oh, and also potentially groomers. So, like, in the relative scale of who is bad and who is not, I'm going to say there's one side that is significantly worse in comparison. Now, the video is very, 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 very long, right? And there's a reason for that. Kilotonics basically creates a timeline of events, all of the actors that are currently in play. Because Kilotonics' main crux of the argument is that pretty much this all stems from Ethan Klein in Leftovers, which I do agree with, right? That a lot of this Hasan bad hysteria mostly started because of October 7th and the splitting of Hasan alongside Ethan Klein from specifically Leftovers, because the very goofy, doopy podcast that they were having in terms of culture and politics sort of had to grapple with an extremely fucking serious topic where there were disagreements. Where Hasan, unironically, did everything possible in his power and ability to try to salvage the situation, but Ethan was having fucking none of it because of a perpetual victim complex that Ethan Klein has, which Kilotonics also goes into. We're going to do a sort of summary of each of the sections that I will not be going over, because if I were to go over them, it would take way too much time, and it's relitigating a lot of stuff that I've already litigated before in the past, and that we already have a lot of knowledge about. So it is unnecessary for, I suppose, the scope that I'm mostly trying to go with here. And that's mostly talking about how I think the sort of crest of the Hasan bad content has left the peak and is starting to go on the downtread, which I think is a good thing. Period. End of story. But back to the main overall point that I'm going along with here. The argument here by Kilotonics is he's basically saying is that this all started with Leftovers. I would say that the Leftovers breakup accelerated it significantly, right? The Hasan bad stuff has always been sort of like bubbling under the surface. Specifically, and I'm going to stipulate that this has started all because of Destiny, right? Destiny in 2019, 2018, right around there, well, mostly 2019, big pals with Hasan. They were best buds, yada, yada, yada. Something changed, however, and that is specifically the emergence of lefty sort of Twitch pull. A lot of that spurred on because of Destiny, but catching on with a lot of traction when a bunch of other lefty content creators, shall we say, metaphorically, joined the fray and helped to create the sort of snowball that was the popularity of like lefty Twitch pull for the most part. I'm trying to remember if it's like 2018 or 2019. I always forget the fucking year. I was there when all this fucking bullshit happened, but it was like right around like 2019, something like that. With lefty Twitch poll, of course, when it started to gather a bunch of fucking steam, started getting a lot more popular, of course, with like Destiny, Hasan, gaining more and more prominence in the streaming space, for lack of a better term. And what did Destiny essentially want to do for himself? Destiny wanted to essentially centralize and monopolize all left-leaning political discourse around himself, right? So he can be the main beneficiary through cross-pollination of audiences in order to be able to have, well, not mostly himself be the main beneficiary of the growth of his fucking channel, right? He wanted to be the sole left-leaning, liberal Twitch politics guy. Hasan didn't really give a shit about any of that and decided to go his own way. As a result, Destiny felt like that was a spurning of his attempt to create some form of a business, or some form of like a monopoly for himself, and basically came up with like a really stupid excuse to essentially split away from fucking Hasan. I do believe, fundamentally speaking, that Destiny is nothing more than a fucking grifter. And the same thing also happened with Vosh as well, about a year later in 2020, when Vosh also basically wanted to start doing his own thing in particular as well. Separate that of fucking, well, DGG and Destiny and whatnot. Basically any excuse to have spite against lefties. That's pretty much been Destiny's modus operandi for the latter part of about 6 years at this particular juncture. I fundamentally believe that Destiny is basically a grifter. And he's essentially self-isolated himself in his own little corner of the internet. But the Hasan bad stuff in Destiny's community has always been there, right? He has always consistently tried to slander those who are more left of himself, to essentially paint them all as, like, the devil incarnate and whatnot, for lack of a better term. And it wasn't really successful because Destiny also has a bunch of skeletons in his closet and is just, like, ostensibly, like, a really, really weird, unlikable sort of weirdo. So it never really caught any fucking traction. In comes Ethan Klein, right? Hasan's sort of mainstream, like, prominence, maybe not mainstreaming. The mainstreaming's happening more so now, I would say, but prominence of Hasan was not necessarily at its peak, but has plateaued at a very, very high up position, I guess, for lack of a better term. And Ethan catches on to that, wants to host a show with him, blah, 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 blah. They have the leftovers, they break up, and then the conflagration basically starts. That was the main, shall we say, fuel to the fire that was necessary for this metaphorical conflagration, shall we say, to catch and essentially become this maelstrom of, honestly, for lack of a better term, just dreck, slop, complete fucking horseshit that basically became the sort of quote-unquote Hasan bad era that we kind of found ourselves in for the latter part of about, like, 2024 till about now, I guess. We're still technically speaking in the era, although I would say that it is essentially starting to crest from its peak. It's essentially over, I would basically make the argument, right? No one gives a fuck about Hasan bad stuff because Hasan bad, most of the people, like, who make the arguments of Hasan bad are, like, delusional schizophrenics on the fucking internet. Like, let's be quite honest here. And people who should probably, like, log the fuck off and get some fucking goddamn therapy. I'm going to be really, really honest here. And people who are incredulously using the court system in order to try to silence their opponents because they don't like criticism. Looking at you, Ethan Klein. In any case, however, the sections that I specifically mostly want to go over in this video is we're going to take a look at just the introduction, right? Our whole sort of overview and beginning of Kilotonics' assessments in terms of Hasan Piker as a creator, right? I think it's important. But more specifically, we're going to be going all the way to the dishonorable mention section, talking about mostly Destiny, Dan Stalkman, and, a bunch of the other, like, individuals who, well, Kilotonics did not get around to sort of mentioning, but mostly because of the fact that Dan Stalkman, who is a stalker, I'll just flat out say it, I don't really give much of a shit at all. Dude has made multiple fucking harassment campaigns and coordinated with them on purpose to try to, I don't know, like, go after Hasan about as much as possible because, like, I genuinely believe that, like, there's something wrong with Dan Solomon. Like, I really do fucking think that he's that fucking deranged. And a bunch of the other, like, associated weirdos, as well as the claims that most of the detractors have against Hasan, which Kilotonics goes over, and hopefully I will also try to add something to these claims as well, from what I, broadly speaking, understand. But I just want to provide, just to do this mostly for myself, to be quite honest, a summary of the sections that we will not be going over, because again, like I said, I don't want to go over through the entirety of the fucking video. You should go watch the entirety of the video. I have pre-watched this. It's a very, very good video. Kilotonics does a very good job in terms of laying out his positions, the arguments. It's in a very, very good way. I thought it was a really, really, really good job how Kilotonics like structured everything, big ups to Kilotonics, big W's to Kilotonics. But I don't want to go through the whole thing on stream. That's really about all there is to it. But, starting, of course, with a history of dishonesty, specifically about Ethan Klein. What this section essentially goes over is how Ethan Klein, generally speaking, when he is engaging in a lot of the dramas that he has with his podcasts, not only associated with Trissopatus and frenemies, how he will constantly use refer to content from Trisha's snark Reddits, even though he himself detracts and hates snark Reddits himself, as well as a lot of the dishonesties that he had around Ryan Kavanaugh, and how his audience of sycophantic fucking weirdos have also gone out to harass, Ryan Kavanaugh's ex-wife and whatnot, as well as Ryan Kavanaugh himself. Listen, is Ryan Kavanaugh a bit of a piece of shit? Yeah, sure, I don't disagree with that. That's it's not the problem that I'm really having, to be quite honest, right? That doesn't really matter to me. And also, going over the Triller lawsuit as well. But the problem mostly is with how Ethan decided to conduct himself in potentially, legally liable ways that he suffered some fucking consequences for because of his general sort of, dishonesty. And honestly, a bit of misogyny as well. He mostly was, going after women here. He's seemingly very, very misogynistic. It's very weird. Going into next now, we get into the sort of leftovers era of Ethan Klein, right after the whole Ryan Kavanaugh and the amount of dishonesty, generally speaking, that Ethan likes to engage with, where Ethan will basically perpetually play the victim. A very, very bog standard fucking conservative thing that a lot of these people, generally speaking, like to do. Where a lot of people within Hasan's chat being assholes, yes, to Ethan Klein to a certain extent, but then him essentially creating this conspiracy theory around all of that, saying that why is Hasan not doing a better job at controlling the chat? It's Ethan, you're kind of saying a lot of stuff that tips people off in terms of Hasan's chat, considering the fact that it is Hasan who is obviously pro-Palestinian, anti-imperialist in general, right, in terms of, their takes when it comes to Israel and fucking Palestine, and you're saying a bunch of, really strange, sussy things about, Hila Klein being positive fucking Yoav Gallant, of all people, who is a fucking war criminal. Hila Klein also, participating in a probable illegal raid within, I think it was Rafah, in the West Bank, saying a bunch of, strange things about, Israel, about how it's, it's very nice and multicultural and all this fucking bullshit. Yada, yada, yada. Yes, Ramallah. Thank you, Boy Meets Minnie. You're saying all of this stuff, but you're trying to, hide back to saying, well, no, guys, I think, what Israel is doing in Palestine is really bad. But you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, right? It's the sort of, lazy sort of liberal Zionist thing, where they're just okay, guys, I think what's going on in Palestine is kind of bad, but why do we have to, put all the fucking blame here on Israel? Why are you calling Israel a terrorist state? Blah, 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 blah. It's well, motherfucker, look at the actions that Israel is taking within Gaza as a response to October 7th. And we all know that October 7th didn't just come out of nowhere, because Ethan likes to think that October 7th came out of nowhere. No, it fucking didn't. It came out of somewhere. And it's a byproduct of, the Abrahamic Accords, because Hamas felt like they were backed into a corner. They couldn't do anything, so they had to fucking break out to try to disrupt October 7th, not October 7th, the Abrahamic Accords as much as possible. I've said this consistently throughout my fucking channel, and I'll say it fucking again. I don't really give much of a shit. As far as I'm concerned, all the Ethan Klein fans, the Zionist dipshits, are consistently wrong about literally everything. And then they'll do all the whataboutisms, what about the rapes that happened, what about this, what about that, blah 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 blah, the babies, and it's just dog, you're just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall, trying to see what sticks in order to continue the justifications of Israel's campaign of ethnic cleansing within the Gaza Strip and also the West Bank. What the fuck are we doing here? So again, Ethan Klein parroted a bunch of fucking talking points around Israel, which set off a bunch of Hasan's chatters. And I will admit, Hasan's chat is a bit cult-like. They are very silly. But there's a bunch of people who are good in there, but yada, yada, yada. But then again, like, chat of about 30,000 people, that being all moderated, I think it's just like, it's not a standard that's going to be possible for Hasan. He doesn't know necessarily who's always going to be popping up in the chat, doesn't know if it's a shitter, doesn't know if it's an actual fan, yada, 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 right? So again, trying to play perpetual victim, like, Ethan, you have also a massive audience, you should understand how this fucking works, but he was just being purposefully obtuse about this for, like, what reason exactly? I don't know, like, to try to get, like, a dig on Hasan for some reason? I have no fucking idea. It's very, very strange. So the perpetual sort of victimhood that Ethan sort of had, and then we get into the sort of snark sort of position in terms of all of this. So Ethan Klein and his war against, well, H3 fucking snark, where basically, okay, this stuff is incredibly fucking stupid in and of itself, but H3 basically thinks that there's a conspiracy theory with the higher ups at Reddit who basically work within Snark for what exactly, because of the fact that because he emailed Reddit, they said they weren't going to do anything about the H3 Snark, even though, like, and Kilotonics goes over this very, very well, where the Snark Reddit itself is very well moderated, has a very stringent set of rules that the moderators sort of enforce, and he saw that, like, Adam McIntyre is one of the Snark Reddits that existed for. Adam McIntyre got, like, banned by Reddit, so therefore, in the mind of Ethan Klein, and this, like, victimhood, like, conspiracy theory he's cocked up in his own sort of mind, there has to be higher ups within Reddit who are actually okay with the Snark, with H3 Snark, but are not okay with, like, Snark Reddits in general, which I find hilarious that Ethan Klein is saying that in particular, even though he himself goes on Snark Reddits all the fucking goddamn time to get information on people he does not like, but whatever. Like, unironically, and just, okay, you know what? We're doing this fucking meme real quick. Real fucking quick. Okay, Ethan, if you decry Snark Reddits and you hate Snark so fucking much, Ethan, you were zooming up on a picture of Anissa, you took a screenshot of it, and you fucking saved it while in the middle of a fucking poker tournament. Like, right fucking there, bro. Like, what are we fucking doing? And by the way, this was on a prominent Idubbbz fucking Snark Reddit. So it's just like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, seriously. Listen, I'll give a big ups to myself, okay? Pat on the back. Listen, if you don't love yourself, how can you fucking do all this stuff? Like, bro, you got a fucking wife and kids, bro. And you are unironically taking a screenshot of Anissa on a fucking Idubbbz Snark Reddit, saving it in your fucking, like, phone for whatever reason. And by the way, this was an Instagram post, I think, of Anissa talking about how she got her fucking pussy hairs, like, laser removed, I think, in Alberta somewhere, and she's, like, saying, like, yeah, the person who did this job did a very good job, and I would recommend them. That's the image that you're saving, bro. That's weird, man. That's you're weird. You are weird for doing that. You are unwell. I've said this before. Ever since Leftovers was over, right? And, like, all the context puke came out, and all this fucking nonsense. I'm like, Ethan, I swear to fucking Yahweh or Allah or God, bro, like, take a month off. Just take a month off, bro. And don't stream. Don't do anything, right? Put the phone down. Put Instagram down. Put literally everything down and go to fucking therapy. For the love of all that is good and holy. Go to therapy and try to fucking work this out, man. And try to reflect on your fucking actions, because this is psychotic. Like, stop streaming for like a month. Please take a break. I'm not saying this to, like, try to criticize Ethan or whatever the fuck. I'm saying this for, like, his own, like, health, for his own good, because this is weird, man. This is unironically weird. I mean, like, other things that Kilotonics also mentions about how Ethan Klein left Twitter, so then people don't criticize him for his dogshit takes, and he mostly just, like, communicates on Instagram stories, mostly because there's no comment section, because, again, another thing that Kilotonics brings up is that Ethan Klein does not like fucking criticism. Very, very much so. Is not a big fan of fucking criticism, right? He fucking hates that shit. Seems genuinely fucking terrified from it. And I think it's because of, and even the clips from Ethan Klein himself, he said, like, I'm starting to, like, get into, and this is, like, early podcast days, back in, like, during 2019. Early podcast days. He was talking about how, specifically, a lot of the criticisms, like, he's not very well receptive to criticisms, and he's just working on that with his fucking therapist, blah 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 blah, and he needs to just start working on that, right? And I think, this is me speculating here, look, this is a help to you, Kilotonics, okay, if you ever listen to this fucking video, I think the main reasoning for as to why this is the case with Ethan is because of, I think, the Bill Burr episode that he had on his podcast very, very early on. From what I recall correctly, Ethan was particularly upset about how that episode went, because I think Bill Burr mostly just, like, made fun of him and just didn't think he was funny and he was a bit of a weirdo, right? Which, okay, I mean, that's a position that you can have. I think, like, some of Ethan's videos probably in the past have been kind of funny or whatever. Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, cool. Ethan Klein being a bit of a weirdo, I mean, that's what happens when you're a prominent online personality. I think you have to be, on principle, a bit of a weirdo if you want to fucking do this shit, okay? Just for lack of a better term. And that really got to Ethan, right? Like, really, really got to him. He was distraught about that, right? Because of a lot of the people criticizing him for just being a bit weird. Like, a bit, just a little weird. Just a little weird, right? Just a little bit of a weirdo. Which, I mean, you know, it's a criticism you could have. Like, Ethan was being kind of weird with, like, Bill Burr, and Bill Burr, like, calls him out on it and makes fun of him, dunks on him a little bit, like, you know, standard comedian podcast shtick, yada yada yada. You know, nothing too crazy, but that really, really affected Ethan. And I think that was when his aversion, let's say, to criticism, I think that's where it really started to stem from. This is what I think it is, in my opinion. That's just kind of like the vibe and the feeling that I'm getting in particular. So that's this whole sort of Ethan Klein, like, in terms of, like, snark, how he does not like being criticized, how he's a fucking hypocrite when it comes to, like, behaviors with snark, how he's essentially also trying to weaponize the legal system in order to go after people for trying to get, like, doxing information on the snark mods or some shit. For what purpose exactly? I don't know, to try to, like, humiliate them, for lack of a better term. And him also trying to do the lawsuits on, of course, Frogan, Denims, and also Caseytron, which has had various levels of fucking success, mostly because they don't have the resources to fight that, especially in the case of Caseytron, where she was about to potentially lose her house because of Ethan's just general sort of ostensible, like, weirdness. And, by the way, all the people who fucking celebrate this, those ghouls, those demons who celebrate that, because in a technical case, like, is there a bit of a claim there by Ethan? Technically speaking, yes, because of stupid shit that they have said, but having to settle that through, like, lawsuits does not set a fucking particularly good precedent or whatever, right? Because they said some shit during the fucking live stream saying, like, it's probably, like, better if you watch it here instead of giving that, like, dog shit fucking video or view or whatever. I think in relation to the context puke, right? Talking about that and saying, like, oh, yeah, dude, you shouldn't give this video a view, blah, 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 blah. And in a sort of technical, like, legalistic sense, yes, there is an argument that can be had there, but basically it's him essentially trying to wield the law in order to silence those that criticize him. That's, like, the biggest fucking problem here. It's very, very fucking ridiculous and stupid, which is the bigger fucking issue that's in being had here because of quote unquote they didn't react hard enough or whatever. And I mean, like, it's like a purely fucking subjective thing if you're talking about, like, you know, if someone reacted hard enough or didn't react enough or didn't react at all, whatever. Like, it's stupid. It's always like a distinction that I always find to be like rather ridiculous and stupid, to be quite honest. And of course, then we have the entirety of the fucking CPS call where Ethan tried to blame, well, conjure up another conspiracy theory about it, trying to specifically blame Denims for someone in her community to try to sue, not sue, but try to blame Denims specifically to go after his kids with the CPS call when that's not really the case. Like, unironically, in a podcast episode, he was talking about how his kid has Giardia. We have no idea who conducted the CPS call because it's fucking anonymous. But he's trying to pin it on Denims and also trying to blame like Idubbbz for not coming to his defense, which is really fucking stupid. But whatever. And he was trying to shift blame away from that specifically. It's stupid, obviously. Like, there's just no evidence to say that it was a fan of Denims. He tried to come up with like some random like doctored screenshot, probably from like DGG if I were to take a guess, in order to try to pin Denims on the CPS call stuff. Very, very, very fucking idiotic and stupid. And honestly, like, the whole CPS situation I thought was like entirely fucking ridiculous. And obviously, if we've mentioned this before, in terms of all of the lawsuits, he's essentially trying to use the law as his own weapon against those that he personally dislikes and those that he finds to be his detractors in particular. That's the point of all the fucking lawsuits, right? He's essentially trying to bully a bunch of people into submission because he has significantly more resources in comparison to them. He's trying to use the law as like his weapon, for lack of a better term, to essentially say like, oh, we're going to fucking use the law in order to silence those that are criticizing me because I just don't like the fact that I'm getting, well, criticized. Like, that's really, really about it. It's stupid, it's nonsensical, and it's not really like the greatest application of the law, let's just say. Like, let's just say that shit like this, Ethan, like, the guy who purports to be like, oh, for free speech, and you care so much about fucking fair use and whatnot, setting a precedent like this is not exactly the best, buddy. Like, this will be used, like, he's kind of going back on a lot of the principles that he had during the Matt Haas days in order to justify, well, if someone says something that you don't like, so long as you have more resources in comparison to them, you can just use the law in any way you want in order to try to fucking silence them. That's literally it. And that's a big fucking goddamn problem, because when the Matt Haas-Holzer's lawsuit happened, there was a degree of fucking principle. And yeah, there is like an argument there, but the problem is that Ethan Klein is not doing this for the sake of fair use. He's doing this to silence people for criticisms that he doesn't fucking like. There's a fucking difference here, right? And that's the big issue that a lot of people have with Ethan's lawsuits against Frogan, Denims, and fucking Casey Tron. Now, to get into the people that specifically Kilotonics gets into, we have this Cameron F305 individual who's apparently got sexual assault charges against him, and I think he was like, if I recall correctly, 19 years old, and when he potentially allegedly assaulted a fucking 16-year-old. Yikes, yikes, yikes. But basically, Kilotonics is bringing up this guy specifically to show how lucrative Hasan Bad was. This guy was basically a complete fucking nobody, and then started making some, unironically, just Hasan Bad content and dog shit fucking content cops that were nowhere near as popular, because this Cameron individual, from what I've seen, is just like a genuinely unlikable fucking weirdo who, generally speaking, just, I don't know, has like sexual assault allegations against him and is genuinely fucking unlikable. Like, I think that's really, really all there is to say about this guy. I think he's just a fucking weirdo. We have Willie Mac Show, of course, or as I would like to call Silly Mac Show, because he's a fucking idiot. Just, I think, clinically fucking stupid, to be quite honest. Basically, Willie Mac Show just... He had a debate once with Hasan, he made a Hasan bad video. He called into Hasan's show while fucking Felix Biederman was there. I think I remember catching parts of this debate. And basically, he had to go back into his video to talk, to bring up talking points that he had in his video to argue with Hasan for as to why he was bad. Because he was saying, like, oh, Hasan, why didn't you fucking watch my video? You should have watched my video. It's just like, brother, like, why the fuck would I watch your goofy-ah video on me? I am the one, unironically, that I know myself particularly well. You're the one with the criticisms. You should remember the criticisms you have of me in your dumbass video, and you should be giving me, like, you should know your criticisms, why you don't fucking like me. And the only reason why Willie Mac Show probably forgot the criticisms that he had on Hasan is because he's a fucking, like, unironic, just dumbass. I think he's just an idiot who just basically pulls everything, and I mean fucking everything from DGG, right? And we all know DGG are fucking dishonest. They are dishonest actors, and nothing that comes out of the mouth of fucking DGG should be trusted or fucking believed. A Willie Mac Show, you're a fucking idiot. There's a reason why I will never look at any of your videos, because I think I'd rather metaphorically blow my brains out. Tectone, aka Rape Tone, has a protective order against him by his ex, known as Pink Chiu. Has not a restraining order, but an NDA also with his ex-wife, Freem, because of the fact that Freem was about to come out with a Google document with allegations against Tectone of sexual impropriety, of course. And Tectone, in that protective order case, during the whole court transcript, self-admitted to being a fucking grifter, like unironically, self-admitted to also doing the actions that he did against fucking Pink Chiu, essentially using her as a fucking auto blow machine. So he admitted to that as well. And also just makes like the general sort of like slop Hasan bad content. For what purpose exactly? To try to garner a new audience in order to like deflect from the fact that he's like a piece of shit and has a bunch of sexual impropriety against himself. Like, that's why he's, generally speaking, acting this particular way, right? With when we're talking about, well, fucking Tectone, right? He's a massive fucking piece of shit, and is just a rapist, period, end of story. And has always just been kind of a grifter. Like, Shamu's videos, which Kilotonics mostly refers to here, do a fantastic job going into all of the, shall we say, problems and lies that Tectone is. Oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, Tectone is also just like a general liar. Part of the reason why he even stopped streaming for 6 months is because he kept mentioning his fucking ex in streams over and over and over and over again. And his lawyers more than likely told him, like, hey, buddy, I'm gonna need you to stop streaming for a while, right? Because you keep talking about your ex over and over and over again, and it's gonna make the court case a lot harder for us. Unfortunately, Tectone had to give testimony in that fucking court case, and he made himself look like the complete fucking dumbass that he is. So, unfortunately for Tectone's fucking lawyer, he did not... Unfortunately, with what you were working with, it was not great. So, unfortunate for Tectone's lawyer. That was an uphill battle for you, I think 100% of the way. And, like... Not to mention, like, this guy used to be pro-trans rights, used to be a fan of Hasan, until it was efficacious for him to not be pro-trans rights and pro-Hasan, yada, yada, yada. In every way, shape, and form that Tectone can be, like, a strange, like, grifter, like, he just is, period, end of story. Like, anything that comes out of Tectone's mouth, especially in terms of, like, political takes, because he is just wholeheartedly, completely uneducated in the fucking subject, should be not believed, period, end of story. Nux. There's Nux. Another one I would say is very similar to that of fucking Tectone, but instead of being, well, doing rape against exes that he used to have, right? He is a groomer, I would say, right? A groomer in the sense that he did early porn indoctrination, as Kilotonics himself also says, which is a part of grooming children, period, end of fucking story, right? So, NuxTaku basically brought up a bunch of, or not brought up, but this is from the Nicolas video. Nicolas' video, generally speaking, outlines how NuxTaku would game the YouTube algorithm in order to have his videos be pushed to a young audience with thumbnails and talking about topics that appeal specifically to minors, to yeah, basically just to appeal to fucking minors, right? They see using terms like fucking Pokemon and other popular anime and cartoons and yada yada yada. And then in the thumbnail, he would have basically barely censored fucking porn, right? And a bunch of people within NuxTaku's Reddit and also his fucking comment section admitted to being fucking minors. But the crux of this all is that he had a private Patreon Discord server where there was a minor in there who self-admitted to being fucking 14 and who was getting basically groomed into doing SH, basically engaging in NSFW sections, like fucked up NSFW sections within NuxTaku's private Patreon Discord server, and basically pushing, shall we say, the kid down some very, very, I guess for lack of a better term, dark paths. It was really, really bad. And by the way, like, NuxTaku saw all of this happening and basically decided to do absolutely fucking nothing about it. Because, well, let's just say, he got, and Nikon just fucking calculated this, like $46 out of the exchange. He did all of this for $46 fucking dollars. Hope that fucking $46 was worth it, Nux, for the complete cratering of your reputation and how you're now essentially like Tectone, a complete reactionary drama slop, not drama slop, but political slop channel who barely has any knowledge in terms of any of the topics that he fucking talks about. Now, finally, we have Nicolas Eats Oreos, or Nicolas DeOrio, or as I will so very affectionately call him, Nicolas Eats Oreos. Nicolas Eats Oreos, the reason why he is essentially being brought up here is that he is pretty much the main number one sweeper here for Ethan Klein. Basically, in every single way that like Nicolas DeOrio could go against his fucking principles in order to defend Ethan Klein, or just not even talk about Ethan Klein, or try to cut off people who are criticizing him for not going after Ethan Klein, he would engage in that behavior, right? Complete fucking grifter through and through. And as Kilotonics goes through in his system here, he's essentially now trying to find a way off of the ship that he's been riding, of course the metaphorical ship here, that he's been riding for the latter part of about 2 years or something, with the whole Hasan bad train, basically just going along with like literally everything that Ethan Klein sort of says because of positive coverage that Ethan Klein was giving Nicolas Eats Oreos here in order to be able to ride his way to fucking prominence. Because he unironically, what he wanted was to be Ethan Klein's right-hand fucking man. He was doing literally everything possible in order to just be completely ignorant, negligent, cut off people who were bringing up accurate fucking criticisms of Ethan's fucking behaviors and how, like, well, Nick, you used to have these fucking principled stances and positions before in the past, and you're not engaging with them with Ethan Klein. That's a little suspicious. It seems like you're actually a bit of a grifter, but he would basically try to do, like, turn himself into a pretzel in every way, shape, and form to just not engage and to continue down along the grift that he basically set for himself. A bit of a long summary there, but yes, those are the sections that we will not be going over. I mean, most of the longest stuff is the fucking Ethan shit, because that is the part that specifically is the whole crux of this, like, particular sort of video. Yes, Clay, I'm aware. Like, Nicolas Eats Oreos is he's not good. He's a drama commentary slop channel. He fucking sucks. Yada yada yada. let's start with the main sort of areas that we're going to be covering with here in terms of the video itself, right? Yeah, it's a 4-hour video. There's a reason why I don't want to go through all of it. I mean, a lot of it is just a relitigation of stuff that we've already known, and it cuts through about, like, well, 3 hours of the fucking thing, right? So, yeah, that's mostly the reason why I don't want to fucking go over all that shit, because, well, not go over it. It's because, it's a lot of stuff that we already know, blah, 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 blah. Why relitigate it, yada, yada, yada. I've already explained myself, blah, 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 blah. Anywho, why don't we get into the video? Weasley Little Liar, folks.
Alright, so if you've used the internet at any point in the last few years, it means at one time or another, you've probably heard the name Hasan Piker. Hasan, who also goes by Hasanabi, is 34 years old. He's one of online politics' largest creators, and he's known for taking controversial far-left positions and being very tall.
You are tall. He's a tall guy.
He's 6'4", folks.
Being very passionately progressive, anti-capitalist, pro-Palestinian, and overall just having somewhat radical takes that go against the grain. And he can occasionally make comments that have a tendency to make a lot of people very upset.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it. We fucking totally brought...
I remember when this fucking happened live. That shit was fucking crazy, I'm not gonna lie. But yes, obviously, Hasan is a little hyperbolic and, shall we say, flagrant with his fucking language as a streamer, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, a lot of the people who bring up this, like, criticism of him saying particular things, I think is very stupid. Like, oh man, bro has, like, I think, like, 20,000 hours live streaming, something like that. Crazy amount of hours. And we're just gonna take, like, random out-of-context clips and then just say, prescribe literally, like, that particular take that was made in a certain context or whatever, because the context of this was like the Joe Rogan episode with Dan Crenshaw. Obviously Dan Crenshaw was fucking lying, yada yada yada. That's why he said America deserved like 9/11, blah 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 blah, right? And all the like detractors are bringing this up, like, even though they themselves have also had like a bunch of like dog shit, stupid idiot takes that we can easily just clip out of context and prescribe to their whole ideology and whole thought belief system based off of that one clip. Like, I mean, we can just do this exact same behavior. Like, the people who fucking complain about this, I think, are stupid. Because, unironically, like, this shit has now hit mainstream news, right? Like, Fox News has done, like, segments on Hasan Piker for the latter part of about a month now, and it's obviously just the exact same, like, stupid fucking trek over and over and over again, alongside, like, CNN trying to do their unironic auditions for when the Ellisons take over CNN with their bid to try to buy fucking, I think it's Warner Brothers, I believe. I think it's Warner, I think. In their bid to try to buy out Warner Brothers, and when they finally get control of CNN for themselves, right? Like, that's, like, literally the only reason why he's doing that.
Brought it on ourselves, dude. Holy shit. We did.
Over the duration of his career online, while he does have some support around him, Hasan has gradually become public enemy #1 for a lot of creators and their fan bases. He draws some pretty intense criticism
Seeing a lot of
from not just the
fucking
right,
really
but also the
stupid
left.
people.
And lately, he's even becoming more and more of a regular target for a bunch of apolitical...
Okay, I'm going to say right now, Richie Torres is not on the left, but listen, I'm not expecting Kilo to know that necessarily.
idiot slop channels.
Hey, Hasan, you crying stupid bitch. Brother, you are the biggest piece of shit I have ever seen. Shut your fucking mouth.
The attacks on Hasan...
Says Tectone, who fake cried over his fucking dad being revealed to be one of the arch rapists in the fucking military, where there has been an unironic congressional act created because of how much of a prolific rapist his fucking dad is.
range from him encouraging violence to him being an anti-Semite to him simply being kind of stupid, which is probably kind of true.
I don't know which is which, dude.
He's
Doesn't know
pretty
where Yemen
stupid.
is. I think. Nope. Nope.
It's right there, Hasan.
Nope.
It's right
nope,
there, Hasan. Right
nope,
there, Hasan.
Nope. Got
There
it.
you go.
Now, this video is not really about debunking every argument against him, but a lot of the attacking is coming from pretty dishonest places. Like the time people claimed that Hasan urged his viewers to kill U.S. Senator Rick Scott. Here's what he said.
If you cared about
Yeah, that shit was wrong, by the way. So, from what I recall, like, Hasan was talking about, because the Republican Party constantly complains about Medicare fraud over and over and over again, although Kilotonics more specifically goes into that in the final section of Hasan Bad, question mark, right? Specifically, what Hasan was talking about there was the Republican Party loves to claim that there's waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare and Medicaid all the fucking goddamn time as an excuse to try to cut those fucking programs. Fraud, citing that there's so much waste, fraud, and abuse that's going on right now. And Hasan was basically like, okay, if you're so fucking concerned about waste, fraud, and abuse happening within Medicaid and Medicare, you would kill Rick Scott, who unironically had a court case where he pleaded the fifth, I think about 70 plus times, and was found to be liable of doing fraud of, I think it was Medicaid and Medicare with his fucking company. And it was the largest case of Medicare fraud in U.S. history. He had to pay, I think it was about $1.7 billion back to the fucking federal government for the fraud that he did.
Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott.
This clip got Hasan suspended, and many to this day claim that he was issuing a death threat towards a U.S. senator. The issue there is that
Which he
Hasan is clearly
wasn't.
talking to U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who's making remarks about how much he wants to combat Medicare fraud.
The reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party.
So Hasan is clearly saying, Mike Johnson, if you actually cared about Medicare fraud, you'd do the opposite of what you've done with Rick Scott because of how egregious of an offender he is. Rick Scott is pretty well known for conducting one of the largest healthcare fraud schemes in U.S. history when he was chief.
Yeah. Whoa. This whole fucking clip was clipped out of context, and it's dishonest. Yeah, dishonest.
Executive at Columbia. So to say Hasan was urging his viewers to kill Rick Scott is an outright lie, and to say it was a death threat would also be pretty fucking stupid. So that's just one example of what are very common dishonest attacks on Hasan. There are, of course, genuine criticisms to be made about him, and we'll go over a few of them later. But those tend to get lost in this sea of total hysteria. The widespread derangement that people have for this guy has over time devolved into attacks on anyone he associates with, calls for him to be deplatformed, and people have even become pretty chill with the U.S. government violating Hasan's First Amendment rights.
Yeah, and also, by the way, Jonathan Greenblatt, we're probably going to get into that when we get to Dan Stalkman. Like, unironically, Dan Stalkman spun up a fucking conspiracy theory about, like, an oversight, more than likely at Twitch, if I were to take a guess, where they were saying that accounts that were made, I believe, on mobile for within IPs of Israel and Palestine, Kilotonics goes more into specific details about that, but accounts that were made on mobile devices in both Israel and Palestine that have those IPs. Dan, you're fucking tech, you should know this, that differing devices have differing fucking IPs if they're connected to a network, but whatever, fucking Dan Stalkman is too stupid to do that on purpose, or to know this, but mostly on purpose, of course. Basically, because you can still make accounts, new accounts on Twitch if you're at fucking desktop, and the reason why you were not allowed to do that on mobile is because October 7th just happened, and Twitch did not want to risk any footage of October 7th being streamed on the fucking platform. And they just forgot to remove the policy because, I don't know, stuff like that happens at tech companies where they put in a thing and then they just forget about it. And it's like, oh, fuck, we forgot about this thing. Oops.
I'm not saying you can't dislike the guy, I don't give a shit. The dude preaches socialism and drives a Porsche. Like, I get it. I'm not a Hasan fan, I've literally never even watched a single stream of his, so personally
Not conspicuous
I don't care.
consumption.
But the tendency for people to lose their minds and just make shit up whenever Hasan is involved left me wondering, how did we get here?
Ethan Klein. Well, like I've stipulated earlier in this video, I don't think it started with Ethan Klein. I think Ethan Klein was the accelerant to this whole Hasan bad hysteria. I think it started mostly with Destiny, right? If we go over Destiny's channel, although maybe he deleted a bunch of them, Destiny has obsessively posted about fucking Hasan when, honestly, like, Hasan himself has, like, moved on from fucking Destiny and just doesn't mention him because if you do mention Destiny, he'll get, like, hard and have, like, another week of content.
Ethan Klein, also known as H3H3, is 40 years old. He has a massive following on YouTube, and he's a pretty significant figure in the history of content creation, going back to the early days of React videos.
You know, I read a book a day not to show off. It's, again, about the knowledge.
By the way, he's got a really interesting technique for reading books, and when he says he reads one book a day, well, let's just say we will have to redefine the word read.
Have someone else read it for you.
That's awesome. Along with his own content,
Very
he's
cool.
also well known for winning a landmark copyright infringement suit in 2017 filed by Matt Haas, whose video Ethan reacted to. That case was one of the first examples of fair use for React content being successfully argued in court. In 2021, Ethan and Hasan started a podcast together called The Leftovers. It was a political and cultural talk show with a left-leaning slant, and the show was a huge success. Until October of 2023, when a Hamas-led terror attack targeted Israeli citizens. After the attack, Ethan and Hasan went live for an emotional episode discussing the events.
As a father, it's even hard to talk about.
This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old.
Ethan is an Israeli-American dual citizen and feels passionately about Israeli geopolitics. He's also married to Hila, who was born in Israel and served in the IDF. The Kleins actually even met each other in Israel. Hasan, on the other hand, is passionately in support of Palestine, and the resulting ideological differences between the two led to some on-air friction following the start of the conflict.
So yeah, like I said, and this is the exact same thing I think even Idubbbz himself said. It was a goofy, doopy, fun little podcast. I liked Leftovers. Leftovers was a good podcast. It was fun. It was silly. Blah 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 blah. Hasan was like the more knowledgeable guy of the duo, while Ethan was the goofs and the gaffs guy. I mean, it was like a whole fun time. It was silly. It was fun. Blah 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 blah. Right? I thought Leftovers was good. It was a silly little time. Right? And then an actual serious topic came up, like Israel-Palestine. And then all of a sudden, it was not fun anymore.
Like,
Oh,
my-
stop.
my-
Their timing matters.
No,
Let's not be obtuse about this. It's just this one point I'm trying to make. You
I-
can't shit on Hamas, dude.
You know what I said on the
But
day
you're
of the occupation.
I know you don't, but like we're being a little silly.
in late October of that year,
So again, like Hasan's position on this has been like pretty consistent, right? Like to, for example, just criticize inherently the methods of a fucking resistance movement, I find to be like just not really efficacious whatsoever. Like considering the fact that Israel is attempting to fucking occupy the rest of fucking Gaza and as well as the West Bank, the fact that there is violent resistance being done to attempted Israeli occupation is justified under international fucking law, because what Israel is doing is already illegal, Ethan. But he doesn't have any of that fucking knowledge because he just doesn't know.
Ethan announced that the Leftovers podcast would go on hiatus.
I do feel like I'm probably gonna
It's
pause
Chauffeur.
Leftovers for the time being, because you know what I mean. It's just I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And after 61 episodes, the Leftovers podcast never came back. This is when the divide started to form between Ethan and Hasan. Early on, for instance, Ethan would take issue with some things that Hasan's chat was saying about him, and he criticized him for not moderating it more effectively.
Do you care that your chat is calling me racist? Do you make any attempt to modify?
I have not looked at my chat.
moderate that
I
at
have
all?
not looked at my chat at all, but you
I
have
just
to
opened it, but don't you have moderators? Do you care at all about what your audience says about
There's
me?
32,000 people in here right now.
I'm just trying to tell you guys how it feels, and I'm fucking shocked that you don't care that people in your chat are saying, "Who the fuck is this child? Cold,
Ethan,
arrogant, and
Ethan,
as fuck."
I love you, but there's
Once you
only so
moderate,
much I can
How
do.
can you be surprised when you're
To save us
this
time, let's not get too bogged down with specifics. In a nutshell, over the course of the next year, the divide between Ethan and Hasan grew larger and larger. Ethan and the H3 community believed that Hasan was promoting extremist, potentially dangerous viewpoints, while Hasan and his
Very stupid, by the way. I'm going to say this right now.
Hasan grew larger and larger. Ethan and the H3
Icarus Drowned, by the way, who is promoting this constantly, right? Basically, and this was also something that was gone over in the Idubbbz content cop, and he's correct here, talking about a lot of the people who joined in on H3's sort of community are DGGers trying to get Ethan Klein's attention to continue the further spiral. This Icarus Drowned individual is also a known DGGer who goes by Icarus Bath. This guy is a fucking DGGer super fan. It's very important, right? Because this is why I say all of this has started specifically with Destiny and DGG. Again, it's not inaccurate to say that this is started all because of Leftovers and because of Ethan Klein and Hasan. But personally, I prefer to say, and this is just for you, Kilotonics, because I unfortunately have been cursed with the knowledge. I have the lore. This essentially has been accelerated significantly here by Ethan Klein, and all of this started specifically under Destiny and his fucking orbiters. They are the ones who essentially started pushing out all the Hasan bad stuff, and it's been something that's been like simmering for the latter part of about like 5 fucking goddamn, well, not 5 years, more like 4 to 5 years, something like that, and which was allowed to sort of explode and take off in the online sphere because of Ethan and all of the DGG fucking weirdos who were trying to feed Ethan a bunch of fucking clips and bullshit that they themselves have fucking doctored. A lot of it through Dan Stalkman and all the other associated fucking weirdos.
community believed that Hasan was promoting extremist, potentially dangerous viewpoints, while Hasan and his community believed that Ethan was becoming more Zionistic over time and subtly spreading pro-Israel propaganda. The two of them would exchange jabs for months, with Ethan commonly taking to Instagram to voice his grievances, like attacking Hasan's moderator and smaller creator Frogan for her radical views, and Hasan in turn would occasionally respond on stream.
There's a difference between anti-Semitism and people coming to the assumption that Ethan might be defending Israel a little bit and therefore might have some Zionist opinions because of the past 12 months centering himself as he looks to ban prominent pro-Palestinian voices off the platform with ridiculous...
Which he did, by the way, through Dan Stalkman and the ADL for making, honestly, a poorly executed joke. That's literally it. The fucking Sabra fucking Arab to Jew tier list shit, it was just a really poorly executed joke. Like, that's really the main criticism that you could have there. And Dan Stalkman and Ethan Klein spun up a schizophrenic conspiracy theory to try to get those Arab content creators, what that being Frogan, Denims, Vio, Raffle, and Capri Sun Poppy. Those 5 creators got banned for a month off of Twitch, off of the platform, because of, like, unironically, some random schizo shit caused by Dan Stalkman, who is not I'm going to stipulate this, not an honest actor when it comes to this whatsoever. And they were partially successful, right? A bunch of advertising went down on Twitch because of Dan Stalkman's fucking actions. Unironically, like I've said this before and I'll say it again, Dan Stalkman should probably be in fucking jail.
Smears that they are being anti-Semitic.
While all this is going on, around the end of 2024, Ethan also began discussing a perceived anti-Semitism problem on Twitch. According to Ethan, Hasan and his associates are prime examples of anti-Semitic content being unfairly allowed on the platform, and he called for Dan Clancy, Twitch's CEO, to step down. We'll talk about this part more later, but I did want to note that this is around the same time that Dan Saltman, CEO of Redact, began his campaign against Twitch's perceived anti-Semitism problem. By the start of 2025, tensions had gotten pretty high. To the extent that the H3 show covered politics, their conversation centered more so around Israel and anti-Semitism rather than the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
It feels like where it was during the war and the Holocaust. It's reminiscent of that time.
I've always said.
I don't know what the fuck that really means, to be honest. Like, what the fuck, like, what does that mean? Reminiscent to Israel and the fucking Holocaust or something? Like what? I don't understand. Like, are we talking about, like, the actions of Hamas or something? I don't really get it. I'm a little confused what's going on here.
Like, I have no idea how the Holocaust could happen. It just makes no sense. And now I see it. I see how it happened.
And Ethan would also regularly take the...
Okay, obviously that's fucking stupid. Like, whatever. Like, dumb. That's just a dumb, really dumb statement there by fucking Hila. Oh, I don't understand how the Holocaust happened. Oh, because of, like, Hasan saying a bunch of, like, shit about, I don't even know, about, like, Hamas and stuff. Like, it's just, I just find that to be really silly.
Instagram to go to war with H3 Snark, a subreddit dedicated to A-logging and talking shit about primarily Ethan and Hila. And in January, Ethan released the Content Nuke, a 102-minute-long deconstruction of Hasan's content, including further allegations of Hasan and those around him being anti-Semitic and essentially promoting terrorism.
Which is a really bad content nuke.
In March, a pair of noteworthy things happened to Ethan. On one occasion, he had a pair of human skulls ordered online and sent to his house. And on another, a CPS call was made to his house after Ethan shared a story on the H3 podcast about his family contracting a parasite.
This morning, we got a visit from Child Protective Services. I told this story on the show a few weeks ago about how when we adopted Olive, she had Giardia. And then Sonny started having diarrhea, so we suspected he might have Giardia. Seeing as that he's an infant, he's crawling around, he's putting everything in his mouth, etc.
Then in June of last year, Ethan revealed that he had registered the Content Nuke with the U.S. Library of Congress, and that he's filing copyright infringement lawsuits against Frogan, Denims, and Casey Tron, 3 Hasan-adjacent
We'll be getting back to that specifically.
creators who, according to Ethan, reacted to the nuke in a non-transformative way. And that's kind of loosely where we're at. What started as a political disagreement has spiraled into 3 copyright lawsuits, a campaign to financially harm Twitch and by consequence its creators, and a long, bitter, and kind of pathetic feud where you will be forced to pick a side. But before you pick a side, while you may feel some sympathy for Ethan because of the very real harassment that he's faced, or maybe you just agree with his takes on Israel or anti-Semitism, we have to make sure we don't forget about the most important thing in the whole situation, which is that when it comes to Ethan's narrative, this is all complete bullshit. If you can...
Yep. Pretty much. Everything, and we've gone over a lot of the fucking goddamn claims that Ethan makes throughout all of this, and the rather summarized version that we talked about, a lot of it's just a bunch of hooey. It's nonsense. Like, complete fucking nonsense.
You can look past some of the political disagreement and analyze the Ethan and Hasan conflict in its entirety. It's pretty clear that Ethan is an insecure, neurotic, vindictive liar. And his crusades against Twitch and Hasan and subreddits, these are all just dishonest missions to silence people who are saying things about him that he doesn't like. What's worse is that this clown show is being encouraged and facilitated by a host of hacks.
Hi, Dan Stalkman. So, right here, Dan Stalkman, the main reason why the ADL ended up getting involved in the quote-unquote Twitch adpocalypse, for lack of a better term, and got a bunch of Arab content creators banned off the platform because of his own sort of like schizophrenic fucking feud that he has had with Hasan for the latter part of about 5 years.
And other liars around Ethan that have attached themselves to him, sometimes just to further their own dishonest agendas against Hasan. Now, normally I wouldn't really care that much if a bunch of lying freaks all band together to help each other out with their controversies. That's kind of to be expected. But what elevates my distaste for all this stuff, and what should elevate yours, is that standards of behavior that have long been widely held on the internet are being totally abandoned, all in the name of Hasan.
Yes. And this is where I am in 100% accordance here with Kilo. The problem is that if someone like with Ethan, because what the copyright lawsuits essentially say now, right, with what Ethan is doing, is it sets a fucking precedent saying that if someone decides to fucking criticize you, especially because of how much of an insecure weirdo specifically Ethan is, right? Ethan, being an insecure fucking weirdo, if you have enough resources at your side as a large content creator, you can just sue people into oblivion to try to silence them. This is the exact same shit that people do with slap suits constantly, which people criticize corporations when they do slap suits all the fucking goddamn time. All the fucking goddamn time, right? And people have problems with that, but all of a sudden, like, these weirdos, these freaks, like Nick Pigless Eats Oreos and Silly Mac Show and all these other fucking dipshits, all of a sudden don't have a problem with that. If it's like Ethan going after people they don't like, it's hypocritical. It's nonsense.
On bad. Historically, things like lying, harassment, calls to the platform, or abusing copyright would get you absolutely torn to shreds. But when it comes to Ethan and all his yes men, everyone all of a sudden seems to be okay with those things, and it's just because of who's on the other side. Ethan Klein isn't the originator,
which is, by the way, completely hypocritical
of the masked arrangement about Hasan, but his situation has given some of the most annoying drama slop tubers the perfect vehicle to pretend to have political opinions.
So yes, I'm glad that Kilo does also mention the fact that this is Destiny, because I don't think, like, all of this started with fucking Destiny, right? This has been a campaign, like a years-long campaign specifically for Destiny, and Ethan, I think, is just the accelerant to this whole metaphorical fire.
Escalate their grudges, and in the process, smash all standards of behavior for political and commentary creators. So today we're going to recognize some of these creators for their contributions to this online culture shift. One where truth doesn't matter, there are no bad tactics, only bad targets, and anything goes as long as you win. These are the Weasley Little Liar Awards. Starting with Ethan Klein.
The Weasley Little Liar Awards. Now, we've gone over through all the stipulations and shit. Obviously, Ethan Klein, dishonest, a hack, doesn't fundamentally believe in really much of anything besides trying to do anything possible to shit on Hasan. Cameron, sexual assaulter. Willie Mac Show, fucking idiot. Tectone is a rapist. NuxTaku is a groomer. Pigless Eats Oreos, believes in fundamentally nothing. We're skipping ahead because we're not going... We've gone through all of this stuff, blah, 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 blah. If the video is long, this will be long enough as is. I'm not going through everything, blah, 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 blah. Off to, shall we say, the person who I think has helped to catalyze and start all of this stuff, and that is Dan fucking Saltman and DGG.
Ethan, do you not correspond with Destiny's podcast co-host Dan Saltman?
I talked to Dan Saltman, but also I don't think that that's Destiny, is it?
Like, dude, I'm pretty sure I'm not making this up right now. All right, let's finish this segment. I'm keeping Dan Saltman waiting because Dan's coming on soon.
Which, by the way, I guess I should just go ahead and say it. Me and Dan Saltman are gonna have a YouTube exclusive stream pretty soon.
I've actually been like getting calls and invited to like tons of streams of all sorts of streamers. I just did one with Tectone and Dan Saltman the other day.
This post was going mega viral on their subreddit. It says Dan Saltman.
This is just an example of like this fucking regurgitative slop factory where all these like freaks just get along in order to be able to just say a bunch of fucking bullshit. It's very stupid. And yeah, Dan Saltman's minions, Ethan's bestie. It's true. Like, you have associations with Dan Saltman. Ethan, like, unironically, you got one of the only sponsors that you have left on your podcast is redact.dev, which is Dan Saltman's fucking company, and you have that on your fucking button, your unaccountability button. Stupid.
Minions, Ethan's bestie. I love how they're so desperate to connect the dots.
Hey, look at this fucking button. Hey, what's this on the button? Hey, Ethan. What's on the button? I see redact.dev, which is Dan Saltman's fucking company, which sponsored you. Okay.
Thoughts on shit. So stupid. Are mass reporting Hasan to the FBI for the crime?
At the gooey, sticky center of this large-scale misinformation campaign against Hasan is a weird middle-aged dude by the name of Dan Saltman. I don't really want to give equal time to this guy, but to his credit, it's hard to ignore the impact he's had on people's attitudes towards Hasan. You see,
Sure.
Dan is the kind of guy who gets off on feeling more important than he actually is. He's always talking about how much money he has or how many important people he talks to.
I have House of Representative members that I have meetings with.
And he really likes the idea of being remembered for something bigger than just being Destiny's best friend. To that end, he's decided to spend the last couple of years pouring resources into...
I'm gonna say right now, I think the reason why Dan Saltman probably wants his legacy to be remembered as something else besides being Destiny's best friend, because Destiny himself also has a bunch of skeletons in his closet, let's just say, for lack of a better fucking term, because he himself is an old-ass man, And every weirdo old-ass man wants to be remembered for something throughout history, and this is what he wants to be remembered for, being a weird stalking harasser.
Desperately trying to bring down Hasan. He kicked things off with his campaign against Dan Clancy and Twitch regarding anti-Semitism, which he opened up by massively overstating what was actually just a very stupid oversight on Twitch's part. The claim was essentially that Twitch had been banning his...
This, which I also have mentioned earlier. So, I'll reiterate this again, because Kilo mostly does a summarized version of this. Basically, what happened was, as a byproduct of October 7th, Twitch implemented a IP block upon mobile devices from being able to create and register new accounts, right? And this eventually got discovered by, I think, some Israeli content creator, and they obviously tried to make this a whole thing about Twitch being anti-Semitic because of that. It's like, no, that's not the reason why. The reason why the IP block was implemented for Israeli, but also, and this gets constantly left out with this fucking discourse, Palestinian IPs as well, was because Twitch did not want any footage from October 7th to be streamed on their platform. Now you may be wondering, well, Daho, why is that the case? Well, besides the obvious reasons, because there's actually another reason for this. Who remembers the Buffalo shooting that happened in 2023 that was conducted by a racist in, I believe, a predominantly black grocery store, where I believe the shooter killed about 23 people? That was streamed on Twitch. Twitch was looking to prevent another one of those, and as a byproduct, decided to do a IP ban on a bunch of new accounts on IPs throughout in Palestine and in Israel to stop people from filming actions that were taking place during October 7th, because they didn't want to have another controversy over all of that. That's why they did what they did. They forgot about the policy, right? Because that just happens sometimes. There's oversights in tech companies like Twitch all the fucking time. It's probably got a lot of fucking code in there, and they just fucking forgore to turn off the policy. It is what it is. They forgore. Some Israeli content creator basically made a whole schizophrenic conniption about it. It caught on Dan Saltman's radar, and that's what he used in order to basically do the whole sort of Twitch is anti-Semitic and has an anti-Semitism fucking problem on the platform, which is stupid.
Israeli users from making new accounts. But
Shut
aside from the fact that
maniac.
Dan potentially lied in the way that he presented this initial complaint, Twitch's
He
totally
did.
understandable explanation didn't stop him and Ethan Klein from helping launch a full-scale PR attack on Twitch and its sponsors, citing things like chat messages during Hasan streams as evidence of Twitch harboring anti-Semitism. Another notable...
Stupid, by the way. Like, yeah, man, random chatters in fucking Hasan stream that has like 30,000 people, 30,000 concurrents consistently as like evidence of a widespread anti-Semitism problem on the platform. Stupid.
example they used was this panel during TwitchCon 2024, where a group of Arabic streamers ranked other creators according to their level of affinity for Arab culture or something. Now, it would be totally fair to criticize the people who hosted this panel for it being stupid and not funny, but Dan and Ethan Klein managed to convince a bunch of people that this tier list was actually racist against Jews.
I mean, it's kind of just Arab.
Stupid, by the way, and also, yeah, quote-unquote being racist against Jews. Now, listen, like, being Jewish is not inherently a race, okay? We're gonna get this out of the way, okay? There is no such thing as quote-unquote being an ethnic Jew, okay? Being a Jew is a religious and a cultural affiliation, okay? Yes, that's a very good point there, Boy Meets Mini. Evangelicals are the ones who push quote-unquote ethnic Jewishness, right? Same with Zionists. They are the ones who push that fucking propaganda. Why? In order to justify the actions that they are taking within Palestine. And yes, Boy Meets Mini, you are a former fucking evangelical, so you will probably be familiar with this whole sort of rhetorical tactic, right? I'm going to say this again constantly. Zionism, right, to be very clear, Zionism is an ethno-nationalist political ideology. They will do anything possible in order to racialize the whole sort of dynamics within Israel-Palestine. Why? Because it's all built on ethno-fucking supremacism, inherently speaking with the ideology. Judaism is an cultural and a religious affiliation. That is it, right? Anyone... Well, not, like, technically speaking, anyone can be fucking Jewish, right? If you, say, marry into, like, a Jewish family, you can convert to Judaism. I think that's how it works, broadly speaking. Boy Meets Mini, you can correct me on that, I think. But There's nothing inherently racial about being Jewish. That's fucking stupid.
Good, Jew bad. I mean, I'm having a hard time seeing this any other way. While trying to excuse her racist, disgusting, fucking anti-Semitic behavior on stage of putting Jews on the bottom and Arabs on the top of their tier list.
And this narrative somehow got...
The reason why is because sabra, I think in Hebrew, also means Jew. Even though sabra is... It's a fucking... It's a fucking hummus, man. It's like a generic store brand hummus, unironically, which is an Arab dish. And would you believe it if sabra was also made by an American Israeli? Like, to say that it's like cultural fucking appropriation, you can make that fucking argument, and it would make sense, technically speaking.
Sold pretty well, despite the top tiers consisting of mainly non-Arabs and the bottom tiers consisting of mainly non-Jews.
I think that was, like, fucking Mike from PA, for example, is in the Love Sabra tier, which is hilarious. And I think XQC was Arab coded. Oh, man.
As far as I can tell, Ethan is the only Jewish person at the bottom of this list. This panel was made for the Arabs podcast, which is about Arab identity and culture, and features a Jewish host. Ethan and Dan tried making the argument that because Sabra is an Israeli brand, that this panel was ranking people from Arab to Jew, and was therefore racist. But Sabra is also just the most basic mass-market hummus you can buy anywhere. Hummus is a core Arab dish. To Arabs who take pride in their culture, Love Sabra just represents cultural disconnection, not Israel or Jewishness. The panel wasn't even saying it's better to be Arab or anything. Was this idea for a panel maybe controversial? No, not really. I have a hard time getting on board with being genuinely upset about this, but the nonsensical outrage about it worked, particularly for liars.
Twitch.tv allowed them to do an Arab to Jew tier list. Twitch needs to take responsibility that they had.
Hi, Pigless eats Oreos. This comes from the guy who unironically fucking voted for Trump, parades around in a fucking goddamn MAGA hat all the time. In his like mobility scooter looking head ass is like pretty much the ideal sort of optics look for a fucking MAGA-tard if you ever seen one.
Fucking racial tier list. The tier list goes from Arab to Jew, and they use like hummus as a stand-in for Jew.
The noise that Ethan and Dan generated about this panel led to the ADL stepping in and pressuring Twitch to take action, and Frogan and a few others that participated got 30-day bans.
30-day bans.
Which was kind of ridiculous. But this is essentially what most of Dan and Ethan's war against Twitch consisted of. Misunderstandings, bad examples, or even outright lies, like using a completely fake, doctored screenshot of an anti-Semitic...
I completely forgot that fucking Dan decided to happy merchant post, for fuck's sake. Like, yeah, man, this is totally a thing that happened on fucking Twitch. Like, what the fuck does this even say? Sensitive social issues. Ah, yes. The sensitive social issues category on fucking Twitch. And we're happy merchant posting, Dan. Very mature. Keep in mind, the quote-unquote group he's a part of, the Dezbollah, very, very funny. You know, the offshoot of the Daliban, which is Destiny's collection of fucking sycophants and weirdos. Basically, I've created this like sort of like hub, for lack of a better term, of harassment through that Awk account, Yeet specifically, who is basically just again DGG orbiter, and is the regurgitant account specifically used by Dan Saltman, and I think he's also like a high schooler. He's like 13 years old or some shit. Like, Yeet, you should probably, instead of tweeting all the fucking goddamn time, your dumbass should probably be doing math homework instead. Okay, like. Fuck off, bro. Like, you're stupid. The fact that, like, Dan Stalkman here is getting the help of, like, weirdo fucking high schoolers in order to do his, like, stupid propaganda shtick, which he himself has admitted before is purely meant for the express purpose of trying to hurt Hasan. That there are no rules. There's only like one specific target that we care about, and doing anything possible in order to go after that target, it's completely and utterly justified, is fucking ridiculous. Like, Dan's Stalkman over here has made it very, very fucking clear, to be honest, what the intention of this has always been. And it's about the harassment. It is about the fucking lying. Because again, not an honest actor.
Meme on Twitch's front page. Or if you go to Dan's website and you take a look at the examples of anti-Semitic chat messages from Hasan's community, it's actually laughable. In fact, I challenge anyone watching this video to go comb through Dan's website and try to find me one genuinely...
I didn't know that someone criticizing the IDF is considered to be anti-Semitic. Which, by the way, I'm going to say this, is incredibly anti-Semitic of Dan to fucking say, right? To basically equate all of the actions that the IDF are doing within the Levant and the Middle East to Jewish people is incredibly fucking dangerous. And I've talked about this conflation, I'll talk about it again, right? The conflation between Jews and Zionism is what allows more anti-Semitism to happen. But then again, I guess like Dan Saltman is seemingly okay with that because he wants to continue aiding Israel in the fucking ethnic cleansing project that's happening in Palestine or some shit in order to get back at Hasan. I would not be, unironically, I would not be surprised if that was the fucking case.
A racist comment. I legitimately couldn't do it. I'm sure you could probably find real examples of creators or chatters being anti-Semitic on Twitch, just like many other forms of hate. But if this were a real, actual systemic issue at Twitch, why would these guys...
Good example there by Kilo.
With the help of the ADL, their campaign actually worked, and Twitch experienced a notable decline in overall ad revenue, which did adversely impact some streamers who don't even have anything to do with politics. And despite
which I find to be incredibly unfortunate, right? That the fact that this schizophrenic freak basically was successful, right? Because of all the buzz that, you know, getting Jonathan Greenblatt in the Apartheid Defense League to essentially just be like, yeah, whatever, who really gives much of a flying fuck about any standards in terms of doing anything possible of stopping defamation, who gives really much of a fuck at all. We're all about Hasan bad, Hasan bad, Hasan bad. And I mean, Jonathan Greenblatt will gladly join in on stuff like that, because he unironically has fucking news segments where he does Hasan bad content and brings up Hasan bad fucking talking points. It's fucking crazy, dude.
How fake this whole anti-Semitism thing was, Dan even went so far as making threatening comments towards the families of Dan Clancy and other Twitch employees.
That's true, inappropriate.
Knowing that I'm downloading every Facebook comment that you've made, and I've basically downloaded every comment you made everywhere, all of your travel journeys, the stuff with your kids, literally everything, downloading it all and use it all against them.
The quote from you was something.
So there's Dan basically just unironically just admitting he's a fucking stalker. Like, bro. Like, what the fuck is that? Why are you downloading images of people's fucking kids for your stupid schizophrenic campaign? Like, what are you fucking doing, bro? That's insane.
Something like you have to go after the people they care about?
So I have a list of all the employees in trust and safety, and half of them hide. No profiles, no nothing. I hope I don't have to go to this direction. Sometimes there are people, and you can't get to them, no matter what level of insane targeting you do to them. No matter how autistic you are with the websites that you set up and everything else, they just don't care. Then you have to start going to the people that they care about. And then they start caring.
Yeah, you gotta be...
Yeah, again, jail. You go to jail for this. This is stalking. Jail. And extreme fucking harassment. He also complains about getting fucking banned off of Twitch, saying it's like anti-Semitic that he got fucking banned off of Twitch. I wonder why you got banned off of Twitch. There's unironic clips of you admitting that you want to go after, like, Twitch's team of fucking safeties, like, family members and shit like that. Like, you admitted that, Dan. You're a weirdo. You're a fucking stalker, bro.
A little bit unhinged to go against a $50 billion company as one person. Sending a nicely worded email to a support ticket is not going to usually have the effect you need.
Those vaguely threatening comments, the multiple websites, collating people's personal information, that stuff all led to his account being banned from Twitch for harassment, obviously, which he then tried to spin into Twitch wanting to silence him. Okay, man. But with him failing to cause Dan Clancy to lose his job and losing multiple bets in the process, Dan Saltman dropped the act and turned his focus to what this was really all about, which was Hasan Piker. Dan is so maniacally obsessed with Hasan that he winds up becoming involved in almost every single front in the war against him. If you're a somewhat notable online figure who publicly voices criticism towards Hasan, even if you're an unintelligent slop tuber or somebody he's completely politically opposed to, you will hear from Dan Saltman wanting to be best friends. He's done shows or had plans.
Oh, absolutely. I think I've unironically gone over one of these fucking panels with Tectone, Nux, and fucking Dan Stalkman, where honestly it was really fucking boring and just a bunch of fucking slop, like regurgitated slop, just like feed the cycle of samsara. They were just like feeding slop into each other's fucking mouths. It was boring, it was stupid. It's one of the earlier videos probably on the fucking channel or whatever the fuck. It was dumb, ridiculous, and yeah, there's not really much else to say besides, wow, this was really fucking stupid of Dan Saltman to fucking say this shit. God, he's so weird.
For them with almost all of the creators in this video, which often may fall through because Dan's dishonesty is so blatant that even notorious liars like Nicolas DeOrio can't come up with ways to defend it.
That is what everyone does all the time, nonstop. It will never end ever.
It's not a good
argument.
argument.
It doesn't need to be a good argument. That's what everyone does.
But you're just throwing shit at the wall. What makes you better than him? What makes you better than Hasan Piker?
I'm glad you asked, because my side is honorable and it was obviously taken out of context. Their side meant it.
Honorable, by the way, where he fucking self-admits of wanting to go after family members of Twitch's fucking board of safety. Honorable. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. And your dumbass is getting owned by Pigless Eats Oreos of all people. Because guess what? He's correct. He is right. And you're just fucking wrong. Bro, you are weird, bro. Weird behavior, man.
and they still haven't changed.
Oh, so it's just sides cock. That's, I mean, yeah, this is like, this is the issue.
Completely. 100%.
That's the big issue, though. That's why, like, unironically, that's why we can't do a show.
Dan is actually impressively the most prolific liar in this whole video. Not just because of how often he lies, but also because he just openly admits that he lies.
This is the game. Like, you can't change it as much as you may want to change it. I might want this to be, you know, we have an objective debate and we look at it and, you know, everyone comes away and it's like, okay, well, that would be the world I want to go to, but that's not the world that we're in. We're in a world of all that matters is the end result of the general public having an optics on something. I said that Hasan Piker visited a brothel that was later raided for suspected sex trafficking. Actually, Hasan wasn't there. Yeah, that matters. Yeah, that matters. And misleading. That matters.
Yes, he just admits to being misleading. He just admits to not being an honest actor. Just to talk about the brothel stuff real quick. Artemis is a brothel within Germany, I think a well-known brothel, which got raided by German authorities for alleged sex trafficking. What in reality actually happened, and Kilo goes over it in the Hasan bad question mark sort of segment here, what actually happened was in 2016, a soccer player, forget the name of the soccer player, but a soccer player put in his young fucking goddamn girlfriend under coercion, under threat of fucking violence in order to start working at the fucking brothel, which has nothing to do with the club. Nothing to do with, not the club, but with the fucking brothel of Artemis at all. And also, the reason why they also ended up getting raided is because, allegedly, they were doing some fucking tax fraud. Which ended up getting dropped by the German courts, which is extremely fucking rare, and they got awarded, I think, 250,000 euros, which they ended up, I think, donating to a children's hospital, I think. Kilotonics goes over more of the details. I'm forgetting a bit of the details here. So, to say that this is misleading, Dan, is... yeah. That's quite the appropriate word to be using there. And he's just admitting, wholeheartedly, completely admitting that he's just a fucking liar. Nothing should be trusted from fucking Dan Stalkman.
Yes, you are misleading. Yes, Dan. Yes, Dan. That is the game, 100%. Do you not think that that's what people do on Twitter all day, every day?
Yeah, but you're the guy on Twitter.
That's the game.
But I'm not playing the game. I'm trying to get the truth. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not here to play your game.
It's not my game. That is the game. I think that you might be having a very commentary brain to take care of versus what
the commentary take is to not lie.
It's pretty bad when this guy is calling you out.
You're getting fucking owned in a debate by Pigless Eats Oreos, dude. God, the fact that you have associations with Destiny should be an embarrassment for fucking Destiny, dude. Like, and Nicolas Eats Oreos is like, he's an idiot, man. Jesus Christ.
Out for being a hack. Dan is a huge fan of clipping Hasan dishonestly, or outright lying about things Hasan says, and then spreading these lies on Twitter to generate public backlash. You may even come across certain Hasan clips circulating around that are commonly used to attack him, but they're actually deceptive edits, often originating from Dan Sullivan. This clip shows up on my Twitter feed pretty often.
Democrats, if they were in charge right now, would be doing 100% the exact same thing. 1-to-1. Make no fucking mistake. Anyone who tries to tell you that Kamala Harris will be different is a fucking delusional moron. Do not listen to them.
People like Dan.
So, by the way, this was completely out of fucking goddamn context. He was specifically talking about Iran policy and Israel policy here, Dan. Why are you fucking dishonestly clipping this, Dan? And responding to this in a Supreme Court case where they're talking about, you know, being asked to overturn a landmark same-sex ruling. Really? Like, really? This is just, he's just lying. It's just blatantly fucking dishonest.
Use this clip whenever the Trump administration does something disagreeable as a way of attacking Hasan's credibility. But the clip's been trimmed of any surrounding context, and it's also cropped and zoomed in, so that you can't see Hasan is covering one specific current event and talking about one particular issue, which is Israel.
Yeah, by the way, this is DGG modus operandi 1000% right here. They do this shit all the fucking time, which is why anything from a DGGer, if they are an own DGGer, should not be fucking believed under any circumstance. They will lie and just make up shit all the fucking time.
Anyone who tries to tell you that Kamala Harris will be different is a fucking delusional moron. Do not listen to them. Why? Kamala Harris's own campaign aides have actually come out and talked about how they would be doing a better job defending Israel right now. Chuck Schumer has come out and launched his support. Chuck Schumer, a week ago, was complaining that Donald Trump was Taco Trump. He wasn't going to actually fucking strike Iran.
Yeah, we get it.
No side deals! Trump is trying to get a side deal with Iran, and we don't want that.
So you can still think Hasan is wrong about that take, but there's just absolutely no way that if you've seen that original context, that you can in good faith reply to tweets like this with that 18-second crop edit. This is just a blatant lie, and it seems like Dan is its originator. There are probably dozens more examples of him doing this, but I don't really need to show anymore, because again, Dan just openly tells us.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest here, like, yeah, there is no point. Like, Dan himself has proven to be an incredibly fucking dishonest actor. Like, there is no point in listening to anything from Dan Stalkman. He's a lie. He just lies. He just lies. And Destiny's totally okay with this, because I guarantee you, Dan probably communicates constantly with fucking Destiny. Honestly, and this is the take that I'm gonna have here, I think Destiny, more than likely, tells Dan to be the main guy who does this. I'm just gonna say it. I think Destiny is the main guy who tells Dan Stalkman to be his weirdo little stalker in charge, right? Because guess what? Destiny has created like the schizophrenic conception in his head that he has to hate Hasan at all fucking costs. For what exactly? Because he wasn't able to monopolize all left-leaning Twitch lefty discourse under himself, and Hasan decided to go his own way, and he got fucking mad about it. So guess what? Instead of him doing the weirdo stalker harassing bullshit that he used to do earlier on, after that schism sort of started, purely by Destiny's own fabrication here, purely by Destiny's own creation here, Dan Stalkman became the main guy, the main front guy for like the unironic like DGG harassment fucking campaign. And by the way, this is a consistent pattern of behavior here by fucking Destiny all the time. If there's any fucking detractor against him, if they are a larger sort of like content creator, all of like Destiny's like sycophantic like weirdos and shit like that will always like go out and try to harass and stalk people. They do this all the fucking time. They are genuinely deranged.
That this is what he's doing.
See, this is what you guys don't get. You don't play the game. You don't play it strong enough. He has no issues clip chipping me, okay? He's fine doing it. Why the fuck would I not do it in return?
So yeah, Dan's kind of insane track record might cause some issues for some of his potential partnerships. But a little bit unsurprisingly, the one person who can tolerate maintaining a steady business relationship with Dan Saltman is Ethan Klein.
Hi, Ethan.
Yeah, Dan's company Redact for a long time was the lone sole sponsor for the H3 podcast.
Code H3 for 15% off. Redact.dev, baby.
So it just
it's a dream partnership.
it just makes sense.
They're part of the team now, part of the gang. So
And to be honest, I kind of get the feeling that their partnership is a little closer than either of them like to let on. They both sort of downplay
1000% agree with this, by the way. Like, any sort of, you ask any fucking Ethan Klein fan or Ethan whatsoever any questions about his associations with Dan Stalkman, they'll just deflect, not engage with it whatsoever, and just fucking lie. Just lie. Because they know. In the back of in their deepest parts of their subconscious, they know. They know that this is a partnership that's been, I guess, shall we say, in the works for quite a while at this point. Not even in the works, let's be honest here. But this has been a partnership that's been fostered over the latter part of about 1.5 to 2 years.
the extent of their relationship, like we saw earlier.
Do you not correspond with Destiny's podcast co-host Dan Saltman?
I've talked to Dan Saltman.
You know, as Ethan Klein said, I've talked to him every once in a while.
It says Dan Saltman's minions, Ethan's bestie. I love how they're so desperate to connect the dots on shit. It's so stupid.
Is it stupid, Ethan?
I mean, is it really stupid? I mean, you joined alongside Dan Stalkman's like dumbass ADL campaign to successfully create a bit of an adpocalypse on Twitch, and also get Arab content creators who have the perspectives of pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist points banned off of the platform for about a month. So I think it's pretty safe to fucking say that, yeah, you have a hand to play in this.
I kept hearing them say stuff like that, and it always sounds so defensive to me, which made me curious. Consider this. H3H3 Productions is a 15-year-old YouTube channel, first created in 2011, and despite Ethan's lengthy history of copyright disputes and preaching about protecting IP, the content nuke is the first time he's ever registered one of his works with the US Library of Congress, which makes it seem like he had just recently learned that that was something you could do.
True.
That left me wondering, where did he get the idea from?
But basically, yeah, so I got banned by Twitch for extreme harassment, permanent. I put in a request to cancel my partnership agreement, which is a right that is afforded to me in the contract that I have with Twitch. And then after that, I put in a request for them to delete all information about my account. Some of that stuff I have registered with the Library of Congress. If they don't, I will go and I will initiate a copyright lawsuit that has statutory.
So, like I said before, that Library of Congress stuff, we were going to get back to that. And here's more than likely where Ethan got that fucking idea. Yeah, he got it from Dan fucking Stalkman, right? Because he can use it as a weapon to go after opponents who would criticize him on the fucking content nuke. That was the fucking point of all of this. Why he registered that shit to, well, specifically, where he, like unironically basically just decided to get the idea to use the Library of Congress in order to be able to use that as a weapon to go after criticism that he does not like of his content nuke, which he knew was going to happen, right? Ethan Klein himself also admits to this, right? That he wanted to make a piece of content that would be so irresistible that these people would naturally want to fucking take a look at it and react. And if it's people fucking criticizing them, lawsuits, copyright strikes. Ironically, this is incredibly fucking dishonest actions. And this is a massive fucking YouTube social faux pas that Ethan is fucking committing here. For what exactly? Hasan bad. Genuinely insane.
Damages applied to it. And it's basically a thing. If you register specific
True,
works
Clay.
directly with the Library of Congress, you can get statutory damages. It's not like a typical DMCA thing where you have to prove damages and things along those lines. So I've gone and I've registered a few things that I know that are stored on Twitch's servers, and I'll move forward with that if they don't delete all of my data. So there's that. What else was I going to talk about?
To go riding in a one-horse sleigh. All right. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock.
I have a special project over the break, so don't miss that. And wow, we'll be back in January. Also, I have been teasing a work on a video I've been working on, or a special project, let's say.
That's the context puke
moment on this project. Hope you guys enjoy that when it comes out eventually. I think within 2 weeks for sure. Within 2 weeks. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now. I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hasan Piker content nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating?
And then Dan posted this Discord message right after Ethan's video announcing the lawsuits was posted. And look, none of this is proof of anything. But why does this matter? Well, because
you know, it's what technically speaking Kilo is saying there is correct, but it is rather suspicious. Like, you can just say that Ethan did that in a spur of the moment kind of, like, shall we say, like, idea or whatever. Sure, you can say that, but, like, dog? Dan Saltman fucking talking that in a fucking podcast episode or something, whatever the fuck he was doing there. And then all of a sudden, Ethan getting that fucking idea when we know that Dan Saltman and Ethan are in, like, they've talked with one another and they've worked with one another before. Like, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, dude. Like, it's sussy. It's a little weird.
Because if what I'm suggesting is true, and Dan and Ethan have been in somewhat close communication since November of 2024, it would actually create quite a few problems for Ethan. Number one, it supports the idea that Ethan was originally trying to target Hasan with his copyright plan. This is something that Ethan denies, but if he had come up with the plan with the help of Hasan's #1 hater, who do you think it was originally intended for? And if people knew that was the original plan, it kind of makes Ethan look bad. Not only would it build a stronger perception that he's abusing copyright law because he switched his target after the original plan failed, but also, his original plan failed. Ethan had been begging Hasan to watch his video, but a month had passed, and he was still unable to get him to do so.
And the reason why Hasan was just not watching the video is that he just did not want to give it any fucking attention, because I'm going to be honest here, it was just a bad video. Like, when finally Hasan decided to go through that video, like, I don't even think he got through the entirety of the video. He got through, like, only parts of it, and it was filled with so many fucking lies and misinformation. He was just using it as an excuse to raise charity, money for charity for Idubbbz's creator clash. Like, that's what he was trying to like at least get some fucking good out of it or something, but it was just filled with so many fucking lies and misinformation, and Ethan barely understanding any of the history of the conflict that has happened in Israel-Palestine throughout the latter part of about 80 years at this point, or even we can argue like past 110 years at this point. It was so just bereft and like lacking of said historical fucking context, and he was just like parroting all of the fucking talking points by propagandists. Like, you just have to come away to the conclusions like, oh, he has no idea what he's talking about, like, in terms of this issue. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know.
Look at what Ethan registered last February. I'll never forgive Hasan Piker for this. To me, it just seems obvious that Hasan was the intended target of the copyright plan. And obviously, Ethan wouldn't want everyone to know that that's what he was trying to do because, you know, he lost.
It would look really
Number
bad.
two, Ethan vehemently denies that he worked alongside the ADL to get Frogan banned and claims it was anti-Semitic for Hasan to suggest that he did.
I have never spoken to the ADL. That's a defamatory claim that has zero proof. And frankly, it sounds a little Jewish conspiratorial.
But guess who it sounds like did speak with the ADL?
Wait, what do you think caused the ADL and stuff to apply? Like, why do you think what's happening now is happening now?
I think, well, I can't say all of it. I think.
Hold on, what does that mean?
Can't say all of it, huh? Because we know that Dan Saltman spoke with the ADL to try to get Hasan deplatformed alongside Richie Torres, right? Because Richie Torres follows Destiny, right? And because of that, Dan Saltman's got the fucking in, right? Through Destiny, right? As well as being able to get to the ADL because, again, Richie Torres accepts a lot of Israel PAC money, right? Through the APAC and whatnot, and is one of the darling favorites of the fucking ADL, right? Because of all the Zionist trek that Richie Torres basically pushes on the fucking, well, in terms of fucking politics, right? Richie Torres is a piece of shit, by the way. So, and we know that Dan Saltman and Ethan have associations with one another, right? So we can definitely come to the conclusion, potentially saying, like, Ethan may have also had a hand to play in terms of the attempted deplatforming of Hasan on Twitch, and also the adpocalypse that happened within Twitch. You can definitely come to that conclusion, right? Now, do we have hard, tangible proof or evidence? Unfortunately, no, we don't. But we have some convenient things said by Dan Saltman where you can just be like, wait a minute. Hold on. We can ask some questions here.
Can't say all of what, and why can't you say it?
Like, I'm fine to be this cabal Discord Jew that meets up on Fridays with all the Jews across the world in the secret meetings. Like, I'll play that part. I have reached out to all of these organizations and give them information.
Seems possible to me that Ethan was a little bit closer to the ADLs.
Let's see. Dan, do you know people? Do people know about you coordinating with H3 during the Twitch anti-Semitism stuff? That you traded emails with them, or is that new info? Elon and Ethan unironically watched a lot of Destiny during October 7th in Israel-Palestine. Dan, are you denying this? Dan, did Ethan... And by the way, this is coming from JStalk. JStalk was a former commentary drama slop tuber, right? Who orbited around specifically Destiny. And a lot of the fucking actions here done by Dan left a very, very sour taste in JStalk's mouth, basically causing him to leave the DGG orbit, right? I don't 100% remember if this was the main catalyst that caused JStalk to end up sort of like leaving that fucking orbit, but I think this was like a major fucking player for as to why he ended up fucking leaving. Because, dude, it's insane. Like, unironically, like the actions of Dan Stalkman and Ethan here, like, and well, Destiny and like DGG and like the general orbit mostly around there. Like it was really, really fucking bad. And we know that Destiny is okay with this behavior because, again, he's been trying, I think, for years to try to get back on fucking Twitch. For years. He's complained about this on his platform before. Mostly because he's starting to run out of money. Allegedly run out of money. He's talked about this, I think, in streams before. He wants to desperately get back on the fucking platform of Twitch, right? And he's been sending in a bunch of emails to try to get back on the fucking platform. Each and every single one has been denied by Twitch. Why? Because who's to say that Destiny won't behave in the exact same way in terms of like all of this like sycophantic fucking weirdos in terms of just stalking and harassing people? Because guess what? When he was a partnered streamer, he was stalking and harassing a bunch of partnered fucking streamers because Destiny is just that fucking deranged.
Involvement with Twitch, then he would like to let on.
So if you're mad Frogan got banned, fucking I'm laughing in your face. And I did that shit. I'll take credit for it. I fucking did that shit.
So you can kind of start to see how a close relationship between these two.
Interesting. Why would Ethan say that he is taking credit for Frogan getting banned, again, in pertinence to the fucking Sabra Arab to Jew, quote-unquote, like, tier list? Why would you say that, Ethan? That's a little interesting. Like, you guys are trying to do everything possible to maintain some form of distance in terms of not causing the Twitch fucking adpocalypse and basically trying to make it look like you had nothing to do with contacting the ADL to try to deplatform Hasan so fucking desperately. And by the way, obviously, like a bunch of the other streamers, who were they mostly blaming for? They were blaming Hasan and quote-unquote politics streamers for this. It's like, no, it's because of two schizophrenic 40-plus-year-old men who have like an axe to fucking grind who decided to do this, right? That's why. It's genuinely fucking insane. Because they are, I don't know, like, have complete deference to Israel or some shit. It's insanity. It's completely fucking insane. They're the ones who fucking caused all this stuff. We know that Dan Saltman fucking contacted the ADL because he's admitted to contacting a bunch of people about this stuff. Richie Torres and also the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt. Like, I mean, Jonathan Greenblatt has done multiple Hasan bad fucking segments on mainstream news. We can find the fucking segments, right? So it stands to reason that it is very, very likely that Dan Saltman had a hand to play with this alongside Ethan Klein because we know that they have a much closer relationship than they let on. We know that this is the fucking case.
Causes some optics issues for Ethan, and there are other possible explanations, like wanting to avoid anti-Semitic tropes,
Sounds like a little Jewish conspiratorial.
or not wanting to be associated with Destiny.
I've talked to Dan Saltman, but also I don't think that that's Destiny, is it?
But I think reason number 3, why Ethan would downplay his relationship with Dan Saltman, might just be that Dan is kind of a massive piece of shit. We've already covered his blatant dishonesty and his threats against Twitch employees and their families, but Dan is also a notorious and open doxer, something that Ethan should be principally opposed to.
Here's the mods doxing our office. Yes, this is actually a real screenshot. This is
Who wants to make a bet that more than likely He got that shit from Dan Saltman. I'm willing to fucking make that bet. Dan fucking Saltman gave him that fucking info, right? Like, because that was apparently like Ethan claiming that it was a snark mod who was doxing the office, I think for I think Teddy Fresh, I believe, and they did that in the like snark Discord. First off, no evidence has been suggested that that's like a snark Discord Reddit that's been fucking posted in. Like, as far as we can tell, that could just be a random Discord DM, right? It's all fucking cropped out on fucking purpose to not potentially lead to assumptions being made, or not even assumptions, or like being able to sort of see like, oh, was this even posted in like was this like in a private DM, or was this like posted in the public Discord? Like, we don't fucking know. Like what's going on here? Like, and that's deceptive. It's clipped like that, or not clipped like that, but cropped like that on fucking purpose, so you can't tell.
Fucking insane.
Does Ethan just not know that his business partner does this too? He's pretty public about it.
There's one of Hasan's moderators, the guy named Comrade Lamb. He's been calling me a pedophile, and I did a subpoena and got his full information. It was quick, surprisingly.
Wait, really? You could just do that?
Yep. There's Dan Saltman just doxing Hasan associated mod. Yep.
Stop! No!
That's late.
No, you don't do that shit on my stream.
Here's him then tweeting a photo of that person as a minor, obviously censored.
I believe that was probably one of the reasons why JStock ended up cutting all associations with Dan Saltman, was because he unironically just doxed a Hasan mod on his fucking goddamn stream. Insane.
Here. And here's him trying to intimidate the spouse of somebody who was saying weird stuff about him online. So that's crazy to do. And while there are more examples of Dan's behavior we could go over, I don't really want to draw attention to most of it. And we don't really need to anyway. Dan openly tells us who he is. And who he is the exact type of person that Ethan claims his enemies are.
It's just pathetic the way you lie about your perceived enemies. You don't care about the truth at all. For you, it's just about destroying your enemies.
If you don't play the game,
Interesting. Oh, Ethan Klein doesn't actually believe in that principle? Shocker. Just like all these motherfuckers. No fundamental beliefs.
you're like so fucked. Right? Do I personally care about Kaya? I could give a fuck about Kaya, just like I could give a fuck about Lornabox's dog or anyone else's dog. I ain't met the motherfucker. That said, it's fair to push this because it hurts Hasan, and Hasan is a bad person, and the goals are accomplished as a result of that.
You people are scum. You have dedicated your lives to harassing me, my loved ones, my crew. You are disgusting, vile, fucking pieces of shit.
Sometimes there are people, and you can't get to them. Then you have to start going to the people that they care about. This costs me nothing. I can keep going. I can't be stopped. I can't be reasoned with. You do what I say, or I'll keep going. And I'm fine to keep going.
Buddy, like, trust me, there is a cost to this, right? Oh, there is a cost. Dan is fucking lying here. And that is if they fucking sue you and try to get restraining orders on you. That's the fucking cost to you. And trust me, like I've said before, I think this motherfucker should be in jail. Should be in jail. Because he's made himself very clear. He's a serial doxer and a harasser. This is insane.
I do kind of enjoy it a little bit.
Relentless slander, straight up lies, defamation.
All that matters is the general public having an optics on something. No, I'm saying that's how the game is. That is the game. You don't play the game. You don't play it strong enough.
Here's the mods doxing our office. This is fucking insane.
This so-called doxing that happens, at least it's not like Hasan waving a gun around. Jesus Christ.
Wait, did you dox someone fast or what?
I'm just saying it's not like Hasan's doxing.
Ethan has spent 2 years going after liars, doxers, and harassers, which makes it a little awkward that one of them is apparently his vacation buddy. He's in a pod, these two, I'll tell you. I don't want to spend any more time on Dan because I think he gets off on this shit, so Dan Saltman doesn't get an award. So to me, it's quite...
Actually, listen, just to help you. This one's just for you right here, Kilo, okay? Free one on me, okay? Dan Saltman gets the should be in fucking jail award because of all of the insane fucking stalking and harassment that this motherfucker, like, engages in. Like, genuinely insane fucking harassment that this fucking dipshit is doing. Like, unironically. Like, insanity, dude. Like, Dan, I'm sorry to say, buddy, but at some point in time, there will be consequences for your actions.
Quite obvious that these people have zero standards. None of this was ever about harassment or defamation or doxing, because the Kleins don't actually think those things are bad. They just don't like that it's happening to them. Ethan doesn't care. He thinks you're stupid.
They don't care.
He thinks he can make up justifications and explanations for his behavior that people will buy. And they do. All of these guys have been pushing a completely dishonest agenda, each for their own reasons. For some of them, it's clout. For others, it might just be stupidity. And for some, they just want you to be looking at somebody other than them. But they've all willfully pushed these lies, and in the process, they've eroded any standards we used to have for political and commentary creators. Things like doxing, abusing copyright, and harassing smaller figures into silence shouldn't be permissible, but your favorite streamer has convinced you that they are, because remember...
Hasan bad, guys. Fantastic, like, just... Great little fucking tying of the bow right there, right? And a lot of the perception behind content creators is, yeah, I guess Kilo is a Hasan simp now. That's true, Boy Meets Mini. Like, a lot of the detractors will say that because they're stupid. Very dim-witted individuals. But this has led to the destruction of the perception of a lot of fucking content creators. This is the fucking problem. This is the consequence of the fucking Hasan bad, like, schizophrenic derangement that's happening. And I do believe that we are reaching the sort of crest of this fucking content. Because at this point, like, where do you go? How much worse can it really fucking get, right? Like, most of these people are plateauing in terms of their relevance, in terms of their views. Tectone, completely plateaued. He's a Rumble exclusive streamer for fuck's sake now. He's nothing more than a lolcow. NuxTaku, in terms of all of his fucking, both of his fucking channels, basically seeing no sub growth. In fact, because of the Chondros expose, he's lost subs overall. H3 as a fucking content creator has been just completely tanking in terms of subs for the latter part of about 2 fucking years. He's lost hundreds of thousands of fucking subscribers because of this just derangement that he has over Hasan. And not to mention, like, the Cameron fucking guy, gone nowhere. Same with Willie Mac's show. His content is objectively just worse and worse and worse and worse. It was already pretty fucking bad to begin with, and now it's just in the complete shitter, just terrible. And he's also completely fucking plateaued in terms of subscriber growth and views. Why? Because the cow is now pretty much dried up, right? This campaign has completely failed by Dan Saltman, right? And Destiny. It's over. Hasan Bad is not working. Hasan Bad has been, generally speaking, getting more normalized. He's getting more popular in terms of the broader sort of democratic fucking constituency, and he's been getting further and further fucking mainstreamed. This has been a fucking failure. Ezra Klein, for fuck's sake, wrote positive pieces about him. Ezra fucking Klein and Tim Miller have said positive positions, and those guys are like normie political fucking pundits. I don't agree with much a lot of the stuff that Tim Miller or Ezra Klein has to fucking say, but that's how it is now. Like, they're just like, this hyper fixation on Hasan just makes no fucking sense. It's idiotic, it's fucking stupid, and it should really show to you how this campaign of Hasan Bad has been a complete fucking failure. It's over. It is done. And here's the fucking thing, right? If we're talking about all the fucking takes that Hasan has had, can we say they're stupid? Yes, absolutely. You can say they're dumb. Can you say they're inflammatory, hyperbolic? Sure. Buddy, if we were to take look through all the hyperbolic takes from fucking Destiny, or Asmongold, Tectone, NuxTaku, all these motherfuckers, I guarantee you they'd be 10 times worse than anything fucking Hasan has said. Speaking of which, let's take a look.
You look around the scene, right? And you see people like Hasan Piker.
Hi, Rev.
Crocodile tears. This was
real quick. Rev says Desu is basically just a complete drama slop tuber who doesn't care about the tenets of fucking Christianity. He's a liar through and through. Will consistently harass smaller content creators for people for the fact that they disagree with his like really terrible takes and everything. And by the way, also did public, and I mean public femboy RP with someone on fucking Twitter. That was explicit.
his reaction to the shooting. I cannot believe this hypocrite who's been advocating for political violence for years, now pretending like...
This is funny coming from Rev Says Desu, who, again, is a right-winger. The whole modus operandi of the right wing is law of the jungle and violence for the sake of fucking violence. Stupid.
He's shocked something like this would happen? No, dude, not you. You are disgusting. I am so tired of this man and his violent rhetoric, crying on stream. No, not you, man. not
performance.
It's so obviously a call to violence. You're obviously wrong for saying it. There's no justification at all to say something like that.
I feel like I've seen a few different clips of Hasan saying like,
Hi,
we don't know
Hutch.
for sure if Kamala would have been different.
And once again, we have Hasan engaging in activities.
Here is a legal mindset who is not a fucking lawyer, but is in reality someone who has, shall we say, given advice for people on how to more easily acquire performing girls within fucking Thailand. If you know, you know.
Which may very well violate California law.
Essentially, they're another one I'm ready to burn because he also like protects Hasan at all costs.
God, I fucking hate Hasan so much. Hasan is a fucking stupid.
High counter logic, high counterpoints. Counterpoints, honestly, like, what else is there to really say? He's just like a Trump bad, like, Republican who's now a part of Destiny's fucking orbit. Like, there's really not much else to say about fucking counterpoints. Like, fundamentally, just an incredibly uninteresting individual.
Tanky jihadist apologizing piece of shit. Fuck Hasan. What a fucking asshole.
Because Hasan is the most unlikable
Rapist.
human being on Earth unless you want to have sex with him.
Like when
Also, hi Hutch. Again, if we go over Hutch's fucking platform, it's just going to be nothing but Hasan bad fucking slop. It's so boring. It's stupid. It's fucking pathetic. God. Like, unironically, the fact that Hutch got caught with his pants down with Tim Miller trying to get a Hasan bad out of him was really, really fucking funny. And yeah, Tectone, gay. Anything he says is stupid.
I gotta stop talking about Hasan so much, to be honest with you.
Oh, you should... Oh. You really should, Hutch. Unfortunately, you can't because nothing that you say is of any fucking interest and will never get any fucking traction. If you were to talk about anything else besides Hasan on your fucking platform, your fucking already plateauing career will just crater instead.
It just bothers me that, like,
Okay, so you think Hasan is not fun to talk to about him?
I think normalizing Hasan is dangerous. Because there's genuinely so much to attack Hasan for. Every day there's like a new thing to bash Hasan over the head with. Because he's just so fucking stupid and malicious.
I genuinely do believe that Hasan is one of the worst people on the internet.
Fucking Pigless eats Oreos saying that he's fucking dishonest and shit like this. Oh god, I forgot. News Nation even fucking brought up the Collargate shit. God, it's so stupid, man. Yeah, Pigless eats Oreos. Fucking saying that shit when... he chewed out Stalkman for that. Yeah, it's dumb.
Piker is the most dangerous person that if you're over the age of about 35, you've probably never heard of.
So Hasan is one of the most terrible human beings on Earth.
At least your villain, Ethan Klein, showed real emotion. And when he discovered the news on his podcast, he was sobbing. And I believe his tears. I don't believe Hasan Piker's crocodile tears.
Oh, I'm sure, Dev. You and your fucking performativity, which is like the mainstay of your dog shit fucking videos.
The people that simp for Hasan who are like, he's hot, whatever, it's so pathetic. Even if you think it's hot, it's so embarrassing. It's so cringe, guys. Please, I'm gonna fucking die.
I haven't seen you in pretty much never.
Yeah.
You want to be in my vlog?
Sure.
Starting it up.
Oh hell yeah! I just started vlogging recently as well. I feel you. It's hard. It's awkward.
Yeah,
I can't believe that Hila's cooked to Hasan. No, it's over, dude. Generational fucking loss.
I came here to say thank you.
Wait, why? No, thank you.
For supporting Teddy Fresh so much.
Thank
You
you
need
for
to get
the
more
the
Teddy
feedback.
Fresh merch.
I love them so much. Oh my god.
Well, have a good show.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Oh man, dude.
On YouTube for the past few years,
True,
there's a
Zeno.
big industry that's exploded in popularity, and it's based on a simple concept. Hasan, bad. Hasan Piker is bad, and he's dumb, and bad and a terrorist, probably. We can call this the Hasanabi dunk video industrial complex. It's common for YouTubers during the review month to join in on the fun and make these types of videos, taking short clips from Hasan's thousands of hours.
That's a lot of Nicholas.
What he's saying.
That's a lot of Pigless eats Oreos. I mean, listen, if there's someone you want to go to for an example of this, go to fucking more Pegasus, that fucking dipshit. Okay, like, god fucking damn, bro. Like, actually no, I'm curious. We're looking this up. We're looking this up right now. I have to take a look at this motherfucker. Let's see. Videos. 1K videos? Let's say like what? 1050? Hasan downfall is incredible. Number 339. Are you telling me that this guy has what, like about 1K videos on his fucking channel, or what is it, like 340? There's Caroline Kwan. That's someone who's associated with fucking Hasan, so we could probably fucking chalk that up as well. But dude, like, you have, I thought it was like 25%, like, of your fucking video catalog was Hasan content. Is it actually like 340? Bro, that is a third of your fucking channel. You are deranged. Please go, like, more Pegasus, okay? Bro, you're trying to act like fucking Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! Who wants to, like, I don't know, quote-unquote molest children or some shit. That's hyperbolic and metaphorical, right? That's like the meme around Pegasus and Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay? Fuck you. You have 340 videos out of about 1,000 videos, all on fucking Hasan. Bro, you are deranged. Get help. Unironically.
Usually parroting the exact same talking points they're getting from the same YouTubers in the same community. They're watching each other's videos and making each other's
Hi,
videos.
Turkey Tom.
A perpetual cycle of dumb guy slop. It's interesting to see YouTubers that typically cover TikTok drama and gaming content randomly giving their opinions on genocide and geopolitics, but that's the result of such an ecosystem. It's not about the politics. It's
I believe this was a video that Noah Samson is getting sued over by Ethan because it did a good job criticizing the behavior of all these slop tubers. I believe this is either the second or third instance of Ethan trying to sue Noah Samson, because the first one was immediately settled out of court by Ethan because it went absolutely fucking nowhere.
About making money by attacking a guy they don't like.
That was Noah Samson, who I briefly mentioned earlier. Noah is a 28-year-old video
Hi, Noah.
enthusiast with over 500,000 subscribers. That video came out over a year ago, and Noah keyed in on quite a few.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, the YouTubers who backed the genocide. I have no doubt, without a shadow of a doubt in my fucking mind, this is probably a very, very solid video essay. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I have had criticisms of Noah Samson. I think his like debate bro video was just kind of bad, to be honest. But hey, like, I mean, when he's correct about something like this, he's good. I mean, I'm just gonna say he's fucking correct about something like this. And he was very, very weaselly about his debate bro fucking video. I'm gonna be honest here, but like, hey, when he's right, he's right.
Things. He explains that when Ethan's commentary on Israel and Palestine is almost exclusively antagonism towards people who, above all else, morally object to the genocide in Gaza, it sort of has the function of supporting genocide, because as Noah puts it,
the arguments they're attacking him for are anti-genocide arguments. So these creators, you know, they're positioning themselves in opposition to him and his arguments, de facto positioning themselves on the pro-genocide side. You know, anti-genocide is pro-genocide.
Which isn't really that unreasonable, and we think about it that way.
No, it's just a fact, right? Like, not that I'm expecting Kilo to necessarily understand that concept. I don't think Kilo is like a political content creator, although he's like covered Progressive Victory, I think Brittany Simon, and also President Sunday on his channel, and the 3 other video essays in his catalog, which I'm curious about. Those, most of the Progressive Victory one, I'm most curious about that one, right? Mostly because the problem that Progressive Victory was having was being associated with fucking Destiny, which was mostly what was dragging it down. That and also Brianna Wu. But that's a different fucking story, obviously. Because I don't think like Kilo is in particular like I don't know what his fucking politics are. Not that it really matters. I think in particular, I don't think his politics matter in generally speaking. But the whole position of constantly going after people who are advocating against the actions of Israel within Gaza, which Amnesty International, the UN, B'Tselem, various other Israeli like human rights organizations have all called a fucking genocide. Functionally speaking, all of them are fucking genocides, right? All of them have come to this fucking conclusion. You arguing against the guys who are saying, hey, genocide's actually kind of bad. It's pretty fucking bad, actually. And you're just trying to say, like, oh, actually, no, we have to, like, shit on all these people who are calling out the fucking genocide. Makes you think, especially getting them fucking banned off of their platforms, makes you think for 2 seconds that maybe, just maybe, you might be pro-genocide.
Further illustrates that the widespread Zionist perception of Ethan is really just a product of his own behavior.
Let's bring an Iraqi terrorist group to your neighborhood and you just go out and be slaughtered and your mom be slaughtered and your kids be slaughtered.
That's exactly what's going on.
And again,
Ethan.
I'm saying that I support Palestine. I don't know how more I can express that, you know?
But Noah also lays out...
Yeah, again, he supports Palestine, yet literally does everything fucking possible to go after pro-Palestinian voices. But sure, man, you support Palestine. Okay, bro.
The thing that we've been demonstrating for the last 3 hours, that there is a massive and corrosive financial incentive to make content that paints Hasan Piker in the worst possible light. And it's gotten worse since he made that video. Guys like More Pegasus, Sensitive Society, and WestJet have virtually perfected the crap.
Wait, okay, hold on. I'm curious now. What? Listen, let's take a look. Sure. How about WestJet? Sir, fuck it. WestJet, who unironically I think just did a defense, I think, of Tectone, I think, recently. Wait, how many Hasan bad videos does this motherfucker have? 919 fucking videos. Curious. Not shorts. How many does he have? Is he as bad as fucking Mor Pegasus or something? I'm just curious. What? Hasan. XQC just finished Hasan. Did he now? There's a decent amount. There's a couple. He doesn't seem to be as bad. He's fucked, guys. Well, crazy. Massive. That. Now listen. It's 2 T's. He's fine. I don't know. How much does fucking Sensitive Society have? I'm curious. How about this? I just want to see for myself. Sensitive Society. This fucking dipshit. How many fucking videos this fucking guy has in Hasan? Listen, I just want to see. I'm curious. Hasan. Oh, there's fucking Frogan. He's got quite a few. Oh man, he's got quite a few. Oh man, he's got quite a few. Jesus fucking Christ. I think we found another more Pegasus. Man. This is a lot of fucking Hasan content. Oh, I'm sure you're a fucking Hasan. I'm sure you're a Pokimane fan, buddy. Yeah. Dude. Dude, how many videos do you have? How much do I have to scroll down? Oh, man. God, these people are fucking pathetic. Listen, I guess WestJet's not as fucking bad. 1.5k videos, let me guess. What, do you have like at least 50 of them on Hasan? Or some shit? Oh, hey, it's Vosh. That's not Hasan. Interesting. I don't know, bro. This is... Alright, man. Nice fucking meme, bro.
And it's not just creators. There's an entire network of entities across multiple platforms, all feeding off each other to spread misinformation and baseless character attacks about Hasan. Places like LSF on Reddit or Yeet on Twitter. These function as dedicated anti-Hasan news networks that feed back directly into the machine. A clip gets posted, a creator makes a...
Oh, by the way, all those motherfuckers will also say constantly that LSF is like pro-Hasan or something. Stupid.
The video on it. The news networks post clips from those videos. It's this bizarre incestuous cycle of people just jerking each other off about how terrible Hasan Piker is. It's funny for how much Ethan Klein cries about an organized harassment campaign. You would be shocked at how organized Hasan bad is.
Fucking A, let's go. Ethan Klein, Destiny, Dan Sullivan. Who else is there out there that is pushing the fuck Hasan narrative? There has to be more of us.
Well, it's happening organically. People realize that Hasan is a crazy person. Yeah.
Very interesting that Destiny has to optically save Dan's stupid fucking ass for him. I mean, although, honestly, he's already admitted, as Kilo himself has gone through in multiple fucking clips. But Destiny can't be too fucking close in terms of Dan Saltman's fucking actions here, because like I've said earlier myself, I think that Destiny, because he himself has stalked and harassed people in the past already, he furloughed that work onto fucking Dan Stalkman instead.
He is a bad guy. I am so happy that I could be part of this movement to destroy this fucking terrorist motherfucker.
So this goes beyond a genre. It's like an entire ecosystem. But the attacks on Hasan are also often exaggerated, misleading, or even outright false. And as we've already seen, there's quite the ragtag band of rapists, liars, and complete morons that are most responsible for pushing them. So all things considered, it can be a little difficult to parse what information about Hasan is actually real. So to wrap up this video, let's go through some of the most sensationalized and infamous claims about Hasan Piker and see which ones hold up. Let's start with one of the most widespread and craziest headlines about Hasan that still gets repeated to this day. Hasan visited a brothel in Germany that was raided for trafficking minors. Now this story...
So yes, we've talked about this one already. It's you can say that it's pretty much misleading or just bullshit, right? Right around there. There's no pertinence to this whatsoever, right? So basically, I think Hasan visited the Artemis brothel in Germany about early 2010, I think, where he visited a brothel there. Artemis is a popular brothel within there. It's very, very prominent within Germany, well known, yada, yada, yada. They got raided for, I believe, or rather sued for committing tax fraud, which the German courts ended up dropping, and then had I believe, a former soccer player who basically coerced his girlfriend, who was a minor at the time, to start trying to work at the fucking brothel. And that's where it all sort of, this lie basically stems from.
It comes in a few different forms depending on who's telling it. You've got Dan, who very strategically says that Hasan visited a brothel that was later raided for human trafficking. NuxTaku more aggressively states that the brothel was raided for the trafficking of at least one minor. And on the most extreme end of the spectrum, Destiny outright claims that Hasan literally raped a 15-year-old. So here's what actually...
Of course, Destiny having the most sensationalized view of this because he himself has also done, well, recording of his fucking wife without her fucking consent, and has also potentially, allegedly gone revenge porn, and also fucked the 19-year-old OnlyFans girl. So, you know.
Happened. A long time ago, Hasan visited the legal Artemis brothel in Berlin, which is a pretty famous and reputable establishment. In 2016, this brothel was raided on suspicion of human trafficking, but the entire process, which involved 530 investigators, yielded no results. In fact, the authorities recommended no changes to the brothel's employment process or working conditions, and in present...
Well, that's a little interesting. Now, I wonder why the investigators may be saying that, detractors. Almost as if it's bullshit.
Today, they're actually 100% compliant with Germany's Prostitution Protection Act. When the public prosecutor's office tried to salvage some remaining charges out of this case, the court rejected all of them. And it's noted here that it's rare for an indictment in Berlin to be considered so weak that it doesn't even open a trial. As a result of all of this, the...
Jesus fucking Christ, man. Yeah, like, it got fucking dropped. It didn't even go... Actually, no, worse. Not that it got dropped. It didn't even go to fucking trial. This is incredible that it didn't go to trial. Oh, man. Oh, man. It's pathetic, dude.
The local government publicly apologized to the Artemis brothel and compensated them almost $300,000 for damages caused. Now, there is one truthful element to the story. The raid was prompted by a witness whose abusive older boyfriend had been forcing her to work at the brothel, and she was reportedly underage. Her pimp was sentenced to 7 years for this. But this was just one criminal using an otherwise legal venue to exploit somebody. This wasn't the brothel itself trafficking kids. And the only reason you would ever care about...
Oops. It was some fucking older boyfriend who sent the fucking 17-year-old there to work at the fucking brothel. Dude, unironically, if Hasan wanted to sue those motherfuckers for just lying to him, he could, and he probably would win. Although, honestly, that's a very expensive process, and it would take a really long time. So, why bother?
About someone supporting a business where something like this happened is if the business itself did something that led to it happening. And following an extremely thorough investigation, a court rejection, and a formal apology from the city, that pretty clearly seems to not be the case here. So if you're telling your standard is that all 100,000 people who visit the brothel each year are child rapists because of this one isolated incident, I just think you're lying. It's been speculated that the primary reason for the raid was...
Also, by the way, this was in 2017. That happened about 6 years after Hasan visited the fucking brothel. So the timeline is also off as well.
Actually that the city was missing out on substantial tax revenue because of the pay structure of the workers. Now, we can't know if that's true or not, but it is entirely possible that this whole thing had almost nothing to do with that one incident at the brothel. And to top it all off, that lone isolated incident happened 6 years after Hasan visited Germany. So this entire child trafficking claim about Hasan is built on a story about one incident that happened 6 years after he was there at a brothel that was never even charged with anything and was compensated for the investigation. And as a side note, I also want to mention that Artemis ended up donating said compensation to a children's hospital. So, happy endings. This whole story is really just a lazy way that
Good job,
try to
Artemis.
attach bad things to Hasan's name.
I said that Hasan Piker visited a brothel that was later raided for suspected sex trafficking. Actually, Hasan wasn't there. Yeah, that matters. Yeah, that matters. And misleading. That matters.
So while
Yes, I am misleading. Yeah, they're just liars. It's just a lie. It's so fucking... It's so goofy, man.
The underlying facts about this claim are somewhat true. The implications about Hasan that people make from them are deliberately misleading. Next claim. Hasan threatened to kill a U.S. senator. You may remember from earlier that...
Hi, Rick Scott. You're back. Yay. Yeah, obviously, that comes from the clip of him talking about, quote-unquote, wanting to kill Rick Scott. Obviously, completely clipped out of fucking context. What Hasan is essentially saying is, hey, Mike Johnson, if you care so much about fraud within Medicaid or Medicare, then you would want to kill Rick Scott. That would be the actual full quote there. Obviously, that gets clipped out of context.
One of NuxTaku's tweets actually alleges that Hasan has threatened to kill 2 U.S. senators. So no, this isn't about Rick Scott. This is about Tom Cotton, senator from Arkansas, who in 2024 posted a tweet encouraging people...
Oh, this one? I didn't know... Well, okay. I didn't know at the time. Like I said before, I am a dirty pre-watcher. I completely fucking forgot about Tom Scott. Unironically, I think going on... I think it was like Fox News to say that a bunch of protesters should basically get shot, I think. I think he was advocating for protesters to get shot or some shit.
stuck behind pro-Palestinian protesters to take matters into your own hands. He then went on Fox News and suggested that in Arkansas, protesters would be thrown off of bridges.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet
Thrown
criminals
off.
that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
Hassan, in response.
So, unironically, yeah, that is a call to violence being done there by Tom Cotton. He is essentially fucking saying that maybe, just maybe, the people of Arkansas, if there were these pro-Palestinian protesters or whatever, should be thrown off of a bridge and leaving wet smears on the fucking ground, implying that they should be killed by being thrown off of a fucking bridge, which is genuinely fucking insane, right? So, guess what? What Hasan fucking says? Reasonable, because guess what? You can make the claim of fucking self-defense, because this motherfucker, unironically, just said that a bunch of people should be thrown off of a bridge for fucking protesting for Palestinian rights. Insane.
With a diagram of the homemade shotgun used in the assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So is this a threat? Technically, yes, in the same way that Hasan technically threatened that chatter that was calling for his hanging. But to be clear, an elected official was calling for violence against the American public, and I'm supposed to object to somebody using a meme to threaten him back? Look, maybe this is just me, but if our elected leaders start threatening us with violence, frankly, I kind of hope that someone would threaten them back. So you can say Hasan's response here was irresponsible or stupid if you want, but to say Hasan threatened to kill a U.S. senator while ignoring...
Hi, Nux, you fucking moron. But then again, Nux would be okay with killing a bunch of fucking protesters, because Nux is a freak.
That it was a response to a call to violence is, at best, seriously misleading. Next, Hasan said that Hila Klein was a valid military target. This one got picked up everywhere. Ethan and Hila started claiming that Hasan was calling for violence against her, and Asmongold was similarly flabbergasted.
If somebody attacks Hila Klein, they're gonna go to jail. Why is he telling people this? Why would he be say? What is wrong with you? He's making...
So, obviously, Asmongold is fucking stupid. Obviously, what this is being in reference to is Hila herself, unironically, in one of the earlier episodes of the H3 podcast, talking about how she participated in a potentially illegal raid in the West Bank with the IDF when she was working there as a secretary, where she said, I was bored of as working, I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but I am bored of working as a fucking secretary here. I want to go out and do, like, something else. And as a result, she quote-unquote went to the terrorist city of Ramallah within the West Bank to do a raid that is illegal under international law because of the actions of the IDF being conducted within the West Bank are illegal under the standards of the United Nations. They have said that consistently. The settlements within the West Bank are fucking illegal and that Israel has to stop. Obviously, Israel's not going to stop because they have the US to fucking protect them to continue doing the fucking settlements within the West Bank. So they continue to do the settlements within the West Bank. They have said that Israel needs to leave and abandon the fucking settlements and restore the 1967 borders that were stipulated during the, I believe that would be the 6-Day War that Israel won. I believe, if I'm recalling my history there correctly. Israel is violating blatantly, like, international fucking law ever since the fucking, like, I don't remember when the settlements in the West Bank happened, but they've been violating international law at this point for the latter part of several fucking decades with their settlement actions within the West Bank.
A direct call for violence. That's insane. Oh my god.
But here's what Hasan actually said.
Like, any kind of violence that Israeli settlers or the Israeli military experiences in the West Bank is literally legal. It is legal resistance against an occupying military force. I cannot repeat this enough. Every type of armed resistance.
Because guess what? They're violating international law, so guess what? If the Palestinians decide to violently resist, which is the only recourse they have at this particular juncture, what they are doing is legal.
Against both the settlers and also the Israeli occupying force in the West Bank. Doesn't matter if it's your favorite podcasters like Wife that participate in these raids. The violence that the Palestinians engage in an act of resistance against this illegal occupying force is literally legal, definitionally legal.
So clearly Hasan is discussing international law as it relates.
Again, 1967 treaty from the UN. The Israelis are fucking violating it.
Relates to resistance against the military forces in illegally occupied territory. He says that violent actions against settlers who are conducting military operations in these territories is completely fine, and included your favorite podcaster's wife.
And by the way, there's been recent CNN segments going into the illegal settlements in the West Bank. Like, unironically, we can find those fucking CNN segments where the people within the Israeli military were threatening CNN journalists, telling them to stop fucking filming their actions that they are doing within the West Bank.
as a jab at Hila to be a little bit of a shithead. But for context, many people often dismiss Hila's role in the IDF as being just that of a secretary, despite her at one point volunteering to participate in a highly questionable night raid into Ramallah.
You told me once you went on like a mission with them to like a terrorist city.
Yeah, they took me with them one night, even though they weren't supposed to. I just wanted to see what it's like.
So Hasan was quite obviously not saying that somebody should attack Hila Klein. He said that people engaged in military operations in illegally occupied territory are, under international law, valid targets, like Hila would have been while she was doing that. So whether Hasan is correct or not, the way the Kleins presented his statements here, and the way many people subsequently reported on them, is completely wrong. Alright, next. Hasan called babies valid targets. So this one stems from the final episode of The Leftovers on October 12th of 2023, where Hasan and Ethan are discussing comments made.
Yeah, this one I'm really not as fucking familiar with. I think this stems from like the strange like schizo interpretations of saying that babies are valid targets for probably like some shit from Ban and Panada or something, if I were to take a guess, right? Saying that, you can start bombing babies or something. They're settling within what they are doing is illegal, so you can start just bombing them. It's just like, well, no, that's really fucking stupid. I'm going to be quite honest here because of the fact that do you think that a baby is making the conscious decision to be born in the West Bank, to be a part of a fucking settlement? I don't think so, because they're a baby.
By another creator who argued that all Israelis are occupiers, not civilians. Here's a clip that got circulated around.
Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize
their
own homes from these
yes,
This is a reality, and that is precisely the reason why they have to exist under endless occupation in the West Bank.
You know what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable. But let's not obfuscate, okay? I understand what you're saying. But this dude just called babies militants.
No, I understand. And there are baby settlers as well. But there are baby settlers as well. There are babies in the settlements.
This very truncated clip got picked up everywhere. Stitch and Adam, for instance, cut a video titled Hasan claims.
Oh, hi, Adam Friended and fucking Stitch, PSA Stitch, you two, if I recall, fascists. Well, Stitch likes to pretend to be a quote-unquote fucking centrist, and Adam Friended is just a fucking schizo.
Babies are the same as soldiers. As a result, to this day, many believe that Hasan is implying that babies are valid military targets. But the clip conveniently leaves out what happened just minutes earlier. Hasan and Ethan are discussing JT Chapman's statements about there not being any civilians in Israel proper, as he considers it occupied territory.
AKA, this is Second Thought, right? Second Thought, additional context here. Marxist fucking Leninist YouTuber, right? I have a lot of fucking problems, for example, that in terms of a lot of the takes that Marxist-Leninists have in terms of their ideological predilections and how they conduct their politics. I do not fucking agree with them ideologically whatsoever. I think a lot of the stuff that, for example, Second Thought has said on authoritarianism based off of that really terrible Engels fucking essay. I forget the name of the essay, but it's like a 1.5-page essay of Engels essentially talking about how... or rather, the inference is Engels saying that authoritarian structures are actually fucking justified. And that's the sort of, like, framework that a lot of Marxist-Leninists use in order to justify their fucking political system. When you take a look through the actual essay itself, it's a really just poorly written fucking essay.
Germany invaded the United States, and they said, you know what, Cincinnati, Ohio is our ancestral home, and everyone knows that's blatantly false. But they take your home, they murder your grandma, they bulldoze like your neighbor's house. Are those people civilians there? No, they're occupiers, and those are criminals. There are no civilians there.
Hasan and Ethan both go on to disagree with these statements.
I do not agree with that because I don't.
Yeah, it's not productive. I mean, here's an example. Actually, let me make Second Thought's argument much better than the one that he made here, okay? This is a way better argument that makes a lot more sense. But Second Thought is like a pro-Russia fucking campus dipshit, so he'll never say this. Russian settlers and occupiers within eastern Ukraine, specifically Mariupol. We know that the Russians have brought in fucking settlers into Mariupol and rebuilt the fucking city of Mariupol after they took over the city from their, shall we say, complete carpet bombing of the fucking city and complete destruction of the city as a byproduct of their invasion of Ukraine. A bunch of Russian settlers were also brought into fucking Mariupol to basically try to disincentivize the Ukrainians from attacking Mariupol to try to retake the fucking goddamn city. Because the Russians are bad and they are very evil, right? Russian state, of course. What I'm mentioning here, right? In all technical respects, those settlers are not Ukrainian citizens. They are settlers. They should not be on that fucking land. Period. End of story. They have been sent there as a foreign occupying force by the Russian state in order to be able to consolidate their control that they have within eastern Ukraine, right? That's the fucking point of the Russians pulling that, basically, in Mariupol. And here, another example, right, of something that maybe, well, not the Israelis have done this before, but they have gotten Palestinian informants, for example, to operate within, say, Gaza and whatnot, right? A lot of Russians, or the Russian military, pressed into service a bunch of Ukrainian men within eastern Ukraine to act as conscripts and meat shields on the fucking front line, which is explicitly illegal under international law. And this is an action the Russians have also done as well. Yes, you are technically speaking correct there, Boy Meets Mini. The same settlers did occupy Crimea first, but not in 2014. In the late 80s, and also right around the time of Stalin, I believe in the 40s, no, not the 40s, this would have been early 30s as well. There was a bunch of settler migration waves done by the Soviet state to ensure that Crimea would always, and I mean always, be within the Russian sphere of influence. Why? Russians want that warm water port.
Don't think that that is a reasonable solution.
Do you think what he said is
yes,
I think it is.
Yes, that's also correct. Yes, Stalin also deported the Crimean Tatars as well, as a part of that settlement project that happened in Crimea specifically.
Is one, unproductive, and two, it does not meet the realities on the ground, and it's not a viable solution.
And after a bit more discussion, Ethan asked...
Yeah, I don't disagree with Hasan there. Like, I think, like, what fucking Second Thought is saying there is just not... It has no utility. It just doesn't do anything. It's not productive. And, again, it's just typical fucking Marxist-Leninist fucking dreck.
Hasan directly about babies being combatants, which Hasan, in no unclear terms, rejects.
So calling, just to be clear, calling babies...
No, of course not.
...settlers...
Of course,
they're not.
Okay, yeah, they're babies. You can't say this in 2023. I agree.
Thank you for agreeing.
So Hasan using
Can't
the
say
term
that.
baby settlers was just him clarifying what someone else was saying. And as for valid targets, this is another example of Hasan getting clipped dishonestly when he explicitly said the opposite of what people are claiming he said. This one is also a lie. Moving on. Hasan would put capitalists in re-education camps. This one also comes from the leftovers.
Yes, so from what I understand on that one in particular, essentially the argument is to have people who are in a hypothetical scenario. They very often cut out the fact that this is a hypothetical and in an ideal scenario where we're playing God and we can just do whatever the fuck we want. Yeah, sure, whatever. Sure, we can play God, we can do whatever we want. In a hypothetical scenario, what happens if there are still people advocating for capitalism within a socialist society? And Hasan says, like, well, they would have to be probably re-educated, right? And Ethan was the one who kept, I guess, like, pushing here, saying, like, well, would those be camps or something, like education camps or something? Because that has a very, very negative connotation, rightfully so, around that. Mostly because of the Uyghur Muslim re-education camps that used to exist. That no longer exists within there. There's still, like, a lot of problems in terms of how Uyghurs are treated within, for example, within the eastern parts of fucking China, right? Or western parts of China, rather, not eastern. As well as the same thing with Tibet as well, right? You can make the argument there as well. Less for re-education camps and more for cultural influence, but that takes a lot longer. I also agree with that point, Smitty, but it's not, yeah, it's like that is something that probably, I think, statistically speaking, because I think there's been studies done into this, takes at least a generation or two. I think it's a generation or two. There's been studies done on that specifically.
Where Hasan and Ethan are having a hypothetical conversation about what implementing socialism would look like, specifically how you handle people that don't want it.
What do you do if they're like, nah, fuck that, we're doing capitalism?
Hasan's position is pretty straightforward. He doesn't think this would ever happen in an ideal society, obviously because it's ideal. So to him, it's kind of an inherently weird question.
If everything is given to you, if every single thing is given to you, if all of your problems are solved, then there is no need for conflict of that regard.
But he goes on to say that re-education...
Yep, because again, if we are operating under a utopic sort of situation where people's needs are generally speaking met already and there's no problems with that, so then it's just like, well, this question's kind of a little weird, but sure, like, whatever.
Education could be a potential solution, specifically for those that commit violent terrorism in the name of capitalism.
The solution to that would always be education.
Re-education?
Re-education, certainly, yeah.
Funnily enough, Ethan is the one that keeps introducing camps into this conversation, and
That's
Hasan
true.
has to keep saying no to it.
I know that that's like a
Let's put
trigger
'em in
word.
camps.
No, not like that.
Well, China does that.
Are you talking about like resident schools? Are you talking about
China has
Xinjiang? Yeah,
re-education
100%. They
camps,
do. They do it. They did it in Xinjiang,
Which
I
isn't
think
good,
is-
right?
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was good. This is something I have openly criticized as well.
So what would be
Even
good
though-
about a socialist re-education camp for capitalists?
I don't think it'd be camps. I mean, it depends on
you get me. Not camps,
crimes,
yeah.
right? Are people committing crimes at the behest of this?
So Hasan.
Very interesting that the part about crime specifically, if we're talking about, like, say, terrorists, like, for example, if there was like a capitalist party, a pro-capitalist party within the hypothetical Politburo, because I think there was still, even in the Soviet Union, I could be forgetting about that because I don't think technically everyone was a part of the Communist Party, technically speaking, no. If there was like a capitalist party within the Politburo and they're incentivizing terroristic actions to be carried out against the state, then you can justify the potential for fucking re-education. If they're doing crimes, then it's like, yeah, okay, sure, like, we have to do something to fucking stop the crimes within the state, right? Like, because, again, we're talking about the existence of a state here, right? A state, in the Marxist sense, simply exists for the sake of existence. That is it, right? That's what they're there for. So, as a byproduct of that, a socialist state, to whatever extent that sort of exists, but whatever, will operate under this sort of like oxymoronic sort of state, I suppose, for lack of a better term. A socialist state, in order to continue its own perpetuation and survival, will do anything possible in order to stop the capitalist party from incentivizing terroristic actions to be done against that state, whether it be through potential for violence, right? If the people are being violent, for example, it's just like, well, I mean, we have to fucking respond, right? Because again, states, they survive for the sake of survival, right? Or exist for the sake of existence, rather. And they will do basically everything possible to make sure that the state does not end up fucking collapsing in on itself, which is why, if we're talking about like socialism and the transitions from capitalism to socialism to communism, there's a reason why the state is one of the main vestiges that ends up getting, well, taken apart.
Explicitly rejects camps, rejects the Chinese model, and is literally just describing criminal rehabilitation. For some reason, people just restate Hasan's words and frequently cite him as wanting to put any and all capitalists in re-education camps. But that's literally not what he said.
Yep,
This one is also
it's, bullshit.
The next claim is basically just something about Hasan encouraging violence. This one's a bit nebulous because it's not really any...
Yeah, so basically this one's just like with the same stupid shit that Rev Says Desu was like bringing up, like Hasan bad because he just is advocating for political violence or something, or whatever. I don't know. Like, this one, fucking throw a dart on a fucking dartboard and you can come up with some bullshit.
Specific incident, it's more of a general vibe that people have that he just kind of broadly encourages violence.
Videos of Hasan's violent rhetoric.
He is the one encouraging violence on a regular basis.
It's so obviously a call to violence.
I am so tired of this man and his violent
Hi,
rhetoric.
Rev.
And look, Hasan absolutely uses incendiary language. He said things like this.
You need to be fucking showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutted.
Whoa! Hold on. Are we doing some fucking Nergalite propaganda here, Hasan? What the fuck is this? What is this? We're doing some fucking Nurgle bullshit. I can't abide by this.
Them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the fuck is this shit, man? Slice them and fucking dice them. What?
By the way, I think this was in reference to the 2020 debates, I think, where he wants people to be more aggressive, rhetorically speaking. Yeah. He's talking about people needing to be more aggressive in fucking rhetorical exchange. God. Stupid.
What the fuck is this?
Which, I'm sorry, but that's just funny. But it's also just metaphorical. He's talking about political debates. He's saying Democrats need to be more aggressive and cutthroat in debates. It's not an actual call to violence, it's just being expressive and provocative. What you won't find if you actually watch Hasan's content is any encouraging or advocating for direct violence.
I don't think violence against civilians is justified.
I would never advocate for violence against a political enemy.
Any kind of violence against civilians is completely unjustifiable.
The bad faith version of this stuff was on full display after Charlie Kirk's assassination, when certain people, like Tectone, used these obviously figurative expressions as evidence that Hasan openly calls for violence. And this happened again after the recent assassination attempt on President Trump, when people like Short Fat Otaku seemingly reflexively start blaming Hasan. But there is absolute...
This fucking complete troglodyte. Hey, Short Fat Otaku, besides the fact that... Actually, I don't know. Let me pull this up real fucking quick. Because I just want to shit on this fucking complete moron. Hey, Short Fat Otaku, what do we have here? Fantasizing about grooming his ex-girlfriend's child and having sex with them. He states this relationship has ended around 20 years ago. Her kid might be 6 or 7 years old. I'm waiting for that kid to turn 18. I don't care what gender it is. I don't know, it's a little bit of a weird thing there to say, Short Fat Otaku. I don't know why the fuck you're saying this. Very, very strange. Buddy, I'm not going to let you get away with your centrist fucking pivot. I remember him like putting out his fucking reading list, and I think he had like Mein Kampf amongst that fucking reading list and a bunch of other like schizo fucking nonsense in there. Like, genuinely, he's just a fucking very strange little individual.
Absolutely no evidence for this. In fact, that shooter seems to have been pretty openly oppositional to Hasan on social media.
Yeah, it's like, I completely forgot he was talking about fucking Cole Allen, who was, yes, anti-Hasan. Stupid.
There's also no real evidence of Charlie Kirk's assassin being a Hasan fan either. So this idea that Hasan encourages any actual violence is very dumb, and the instances people point to as evidence for it are often entirely made up. So it'd be more honest if this critique was just that it's irresponsible for Hasan to speak the way that he sometimes does. But at that point, I just think you're kind of being a baby.
True.
All right, next. Hasan shocked his dog. The story doesn't need
Oh
much
boy,
introduction.
Kaya.
Hasan's dog Kaya
Collargate.
to yelp on stream when he reached for something on his desk, and the internet exploded with speculation that he used a shock collar on her. This prompted one of the most frenzied online news cycles ever about Hasan, where for weeks, #Collargate was...
Dude, this is, unironically, this is the dumbest shit on the fucking planet. Okay, my take on this, right? My take on this is, I don't think it was a shock collar, but it was a... And I'm basing this off of a clip from Cutie Cinderella saying that, yes, it was a shock collar and that he modified it himself into a vibration collar. First off, I think that that's just like Hasan being a fucking idiot, to be honest. So I don't think it's a shock collar. I have not seen any evidence really that's like perfectly tangible there saying that it is a shock collar, mostly because most of the detractors are already known liars. So you should not be trusting them from the beginning. So whatever. Because they're all fucking liars. They're full of shit. So I don't trust or believe anything that they have to say. Mostly specifically from Tectone, because he was the one who's like trying to push this really hard. Same alongside with NuxTaku. Both are open, admitted fucking grifters. So anything they say should be taken with an absolute fucking grain of salt. So as far as I'm concerned, right? I don't think it was a shock collar. I am more... I'd rather defer to the Cutie Cinderella clip, unless I'm fucking misremembering myself, because it's been a while since I took a look at this, because the shit's just dumb and I don't care. It's basically was a shock collar that he decided to modify into a vibration collar. Now, can you make the argument that that's really stupid? Why the fuck would you do that? And when you can just buy the vibration collar? Yeah, sure. And I can agree with that. Fuck it. Whatever. Like, but to say that it was like a shock collar and he's like purposefully abusing the dog when there's like, and I know someone who's like handled fucking abused dogs before, Neurodetergent, shout out to her, where she talks about like there's like no sign of the dog like having any suffering of fucking abuse like whatsoever. There's just no evidence of this whatsoever in terms of its mannerisms and sort of behavior. So to say that Kaya is abused because of Hasan using a shock collar, which is legal in the United States of America as a way to help train the fucking dog, is stupid, right? Very, very fucking dumb. Although honestly, the memes about it are funny though. Okay, like Hasan is like Raiden or like fucking Kennen or whatever the fuck from like a bunch of other characters is very funny.
Was all anybody talked about. Hasan denied using the collar. People analyzed every frame of the incident, and it still gets brought up to this day. Now, I will say, as far as whether Hasan shocked Kaya or not, based on all the available evidence, it's probably true. But here's the thing: Kaya is obviously a well cared for.
Yes. So again, I don't think I agree here with Kilo on this one. So, like, minor L on this one, to be honest. I've not seen any of the available evidence that really indicates that it's a fucking shock collar. I'm gonna be honest. I've just not seen it, to be honest. And I've taken a look at the claims that these people have made. I'm just like, Like, really the best thing that they can point to is the Cutie Cinderella sort of, like, clip. And I think that's probably, like, the strongest argument. But she herself has said, it's like, yeah, it was a shock collar that he modified into a fucking vibration collar. So it's just like, you can make the argument that he's stupid for doing that. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, that's really dumb. But, like, But that's just like a slight disagreement, to be honest. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really matters all that much.
Or animal. She goes on multiple walks a day. She has regular playtime with other dogs, and everyone attests to how loved and spoiled she is.
I have the best dog. It's crazy. Like, if there was a dog Olympics, like, she literally clears it. She is the #1.
And shot collars, while not my preference, are a legal and still somewhat widely used training tool. This is basically the dog equivalent of spanking a child. You can disagree with it, and I do also, but the idea that this represents some pattern of abuse is pretty silly. And if Hasan does use a shot collar and then lied about it, I kind of get why. Considering the situation led to some people filing reports to have Kaya taken away. Does anybody really think it would be better for Kaya?
Again, like, unironically, this is like, it's like a CPS situation here, unironically, with fucking Kaya for some fucking reason. But at the very least, like, I mean, Ethan was like trying to use that in order to spin a fucking conspiracy theory about himself. All these people are trying to use Collargate in order to spin, I guess, for like lack of a better term, just a complete like nonsense theory about Hasan being like an animal abuser or some shit, which gets brought up every now and again. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
To be entered into the foster system, rather than staying in the LA mansion, where she seems to live a largely spoiled and happy life. Look, if you want to criticize him for using a shot collar, that's totally fine. That is a legitimate concern. But the story quickly stopped being about Kaya, and turned into yet another desperate scramble for a smoking gun to use against Hasan.
Do I personally care about Kaya? I could give a fuck about Kaya. That said, it's fair to push this because it hurts Hasan, and Hasan is a bad person.
Spending a month...
Which, by the way, is just like Dan Saltman just admitting to having no principles or beliefs whatsoever. Unfortunately, whoa! Fucking moron. God. And also, like, did Hutch really spend a month talking about this? God. Hutch, literally do anything else but fucking politics, man. Just do anything else, man. Please do.
Covering it, filing animal welfare reports, and demanding Twitch ban him over this. These just aren't really proportionate responses to what he actually did. So, I don't know, man. This obviously isn't ideal, but...
Bro, Hutch really spent a fucking month talking about fucking Collargate, bro? Like, please, literally do anything else, man. Jesus fucking Christ.
Me, even as someone who doesn't eat meat and also likes dogs.
Well, I'm gonna be honest here, Boy Meets Mini. The reason why Dan Saltman is as Kilo himself said, and he's accurate when he says this, it's because Dan Saltman thinks he's the hottest shit in the fucking room, when in reality, he's like a strange old man who, I don't know, has like a very strange axe to grind for no reason, because that axe is what he wants to be remembered by in terms of his fucking legacy. It's like, Dan, you're not even that old. You're not like you're fucking 80, bro. It's very strange. Yeah, I can't believe that Hutch is defending the Kayatollah. That's true.
It's just not that serious. Shut the fuck out. Next, Hasan supports terrorism. Even just engaging with this claim makes me feel like I'm losing.
God, fucking, okay. This goes like in 17 different ways, but I think mostly it's in reference to the interview that he had with quote-unquote Timothy Chalamet, or aka Rashad al-Haddad, right? Again, if he was a fucking Houthi, then he would be al-Houthi, not al-Haddad, but whatever. And we want to like bitch, moan, and complain about the actions of the Houthis when you can talk about the actions of the Saudi Arabians, who constantly bombed like aid trains trying to go into Sana'a, trying to deliver like food and medical aid for the people of fucking Yemen, while the Saudi Arabians, at the behest of the United States of America, were bombing the shit out of fucking Yemen for about 9 years. 9 years that war was going on, and the U.S. was essentially aiding the Saudis by blockading food and medical supplies from going into Yemen. One of the poorest countries, if not the poorest country on the planet. But okay, man. Fucking Hasan did an interview with a Yemeni influencer or some shit, and can you make the criticism that it was a little goofy? Sure. And that he was not really prepared for that? Sure. I think that's, like, fair. Even though, like, a lot of the fucking shit that gets, quote-unquote, claimed that Rashad al-Haddad is a fucking terrorist was him mostly visiting tourist sites. Like, I mean, it's just stupid, man. Like, it's dumb. And keep in mind, you want to know the only times when the Houthis were put on the foreign terrorist organizational list? It was mostly by Trump. Trump did it early in 2017, right? During his first term in office. And then Biden, early in 2020, took the Houthis off of the foreign terrorist list. Hasan conducts the interview with Rashad in 2024, while Joe Biden is in fucking office and the Houthis are not a part of the foreign terrorist organizational list whatsoever, even though Rashad is not a part of the fucking Houthis. No evidence has been found for that whatsoever. And got the Houthis got put back on the foreign terrorist organizational list early in 2025, and that was like one of the first things Trump did while he was in office. So to claim that Hasan supports terrorism, stupid. The only other ways that these people can say that Hasan supports terrorism is because of the actions of Hamas, where he has made the argument that I'm not going to bitch, moan, and complain about the actions of a resistance group who is trying to violently resist against their occupiers, which every international body has acknowledged is not only doing genocide, but is also doing illegal actions in terms of settlements in the fucking West Bank. Looking at you, Israel. So again, it's stupid, it's dumb, it's fucking ridiculous to say this rather nebulous fucking claim of quote unquote Hasan supports terrorism. It's just dumb.
On principle. And just to be clear, I don't really think that anything I'm about to say is particularly insightful. But what does supports terrorism even mean? Because if it means speaks positively of
listen, I got you, Kilo.
Organizations that have been designated as terrorist groups by the U.S. Department of State, then yeah, sure, he does do that. But when most people...
But here's the thing that a lot of people are not considering. You also have to... I completely forgot about this aspect in my whole sort of explanation here. We also have to talk about why a lot of these fucking goddamn organizations get put in the foreign terrorist organizational list, because when they get put on that list, a lot of powers are afforded to the executive branch as a byproduct of that, and they can be kind of arbitrary with how they put it on there. It doesn't really seem to have a lot of oversight, it seems, for some reason, so whatever. If you designate a organization as being a terrorist org or whatever, you have a lot of powers in terms of how you treat that organization and what you can basically do with them, right? You can justify military actions against them, because again, this whole sort of foreign terrorist organization list, where did it come from? War on Terror, Iraq, and the invasions of fucking Iraq and Afghanistan as a byproduct of who? Guess who? Oh, George H.W. Bush, the junior, the dumbass, who basically said that we need to be able to go after these terrorists however we can. So we have this list in order to designate them, and so we can go after them. Which, again, legally fucking dubious, but this was during the time of the Iraq War. So if you were to go against anything that Bush was saying in terms of quote-unquote terrorism, you would be politically sunk. So he was allowed to get away with that shit. So that's cool, great, fantastic. And now it's still here to this fucking day. We also have to talk about the intentions of what the United States wants to do with these fucking groups as well. And that is probably to just bomb the shit out of them, for lack of a better term.
People, especially apolitical commentators, say this about Hasan. That's not really what they're saying. They're using it as this severe moral condemnation, as though it's just self-evidently true that supporting any terrorist group is morally horrible. End of conversation. But if you...
When it's a little bit more complicated than that, obviously. Again, none of these motherfuckers claim that Israel is a terrorist organization. What about the Russians, right? Would they make that claim that they are a terrorist organization? The reason why Putin is, for example, doing the invasion of Ukraine is purely fucking political, right? In terms of Russian ultra fucking nationalism, right? That's purely fucking ideologically driven and political, right? Because of the fact that, Putin's approval ratings were starting to fucking dip a little bit. Fun fact, took a recent look at Putin's approval ratings. He's now below 70%. Not looking good for good for you there, Pooty Poo, huh?
Your definition of a terrorist is just whoever the government says is one. Then surely you think anybody who supported the American Revolution or Nelson Mandela is a bad guy. That doesn't sound right. So if that's not your definition, and it's something more like someone who carries out political violence against civilians, then unfortunately groups like the IDF are also terrorists, and people who call their pilots heroes are supported.
Unfortunately, that'd be too much of an inconvenient narrative there, Kilo. But then again, it's all made inherently wishy-washy because of all these fucking morons, because they don't know how definitions work.
Terror. I think there are basically two types of people who make this criticism. The first one, which is probably the vast majority, is somebody who just hasn't thought very hard about what terrorist actually means, or how the list of them is historically just determined by the interests of those in power as much as anything else. But the other much smaller percentage of people that make this
Again, just to get it out of the way, a definition of terrorism, right? A terrorist is someone who enacts violence on a particular set of targets or population or whatever for the express purpose of enacting a certain political aim or political goal. So, for example, right, a terrorist may do, let's say in this like a metaphor, like hypothetical sense, a terrorist may conduct a particular bombing on a target for the express purpose of harming said target or people who work in those sort of like said target or whatever the fuck, for the express purpose of saying like, I do not agree with this sort of organization politically. Like this is a really, really sort of like ham-fisted like analogy, to be honest, but that's generally speaking how terrorism works. It's essentially politics through other means, just like how war is also politics through other means.
Criticism are probably just saying that he's supporting groups that they don't personally agree with supporting. But this sounds like way less of a moral condemnation and more like you just disagree. Like, are you saying your big moral issue with Hasan is that he supports the rebel group in Yemen instead of the Western-backed government, who, by the way, have likely killed far more civilians than the Houthis have? Norway is an example of a country that does have a list of designated terrorist groups, a list that notably does not include the Houthis. So if Hasan moved to Norway, would he then be all good to go on saying positive things about them? And furthermore,
like just I said earlier, like again, the entirety of the Biden presidency, the Houthis were not a foreign terrorist organization. The only reason why Trump did that is so that Trump can justify fucking bombings against them. Again, stupid. Oh yeah, and by the way, like Hasan has condemned some of the actions that the ANC did in order to punish like dissident members that they caught before. I think it was like something called not chain ganging. It was something else. I don't remember exactly, but like unironically, like Hasan has said, like, yeah, some of the actions that the ANC took, that Nelson Mandela's like boys basically took, was like pretty bad. And yeah, there are a lot of people who would consider Nelson Mandela a fucking terrorist, but whatever, stupid.
Somebody supporting the cause of a group like the Houthis doesn't mean that they support all of their tactics.
Any kind of violence against civilians is completely unjustifiable.
This is also this is also a good point there by Kilo. Yeah, just because like you support a particular group does not mean you endorse all their tactics. Like I explained earlier.
Of a group is not the same as endorsing every action they've ever taken, and collapsing that distinction is how you wind up with a completely useless definition of support. Now, there is obviously some utility to the word terrorism in humanitarian and international law, but that's just not really what's typically being discussed when most people say this stuff about Hasan. Most of them are just
like let's just be real here. Do you think like dumbasses like fucking Asmongold, Rev Says Desu, and I don't know, all these like apolitical drama slop morons are operating with like a salient definition of fucking terrorism? Fuck no.
Just saying he supports terrorism and terrorism is bad, which is not really an argument. I have a lot more to say about this topic, but I'll keep it short and say that you're kind of telling on yourself if your big criticism of Hasan is that he, quote, supports terrorism. Because while he does express views that a lot of people find uncomfortable, his position on this is actually closer to that of a significant portion of international legal scholars, human rights organizations, and frankly a lot of the world outside of the West. I mean, hell, George Lucas made billions of dollars off of terrorism.
He said... He's right here. He's right here. Because all these motherfuckers would say that the Viet Cong, which the rebels are an allegory for, were fucking terrorists during the 60s. I'm just saying.
So to be honest, I can't even really evaluate the truth of this claim because it's kind of a nonsensical, thought-terminating criticism, and I don't even really know what the fuck people are actually saying when they make it. And speaking,
it's just like it's just a way to just basically say like, meh, Hasan is bad because terrorist or something. Or maybe they're just trying to be racist. I don't know. Like take your, like I said, with the support terrorism thing, you pick the dart, you throw it at the board, and it's like, good enough, whatever.
Speaking of terrorism, Hasan interviewed a terrorist. Let's keep this brief. Hasan interviewed Rashid
I already fucking mentioned this stuff. I'm not gonna say it again.
Haddad in early 2024. He's a Yemeni influencer and self-described media personality and photographer. Hasan was under the impression before the interview that Rashid was affiliated with the Houthis, probably because of the nickname that people gave him on social media, but he quickly corrected himself when he realized that he wasn't. There is no evidence that Rashid participated in seizing any ships or has any formal Houthi association. People use really dumb pieces of evidence to say, oh no, he is a Houthi, like this Instagram comment, where he just says he is a soldier, which could mean almost anything, or the photos that he took on his captured vessel.
Like you could say that he's like a soldier in the culture war or something, like he's a fucking social media influencer. Dumb.
Which was open to the public for photos. But ultimately, it wouldn't really matter if he was a Houthi. Hasan should be allowed to interview terrorists on stream. There's just no evidence that this guy is one. Rashid is currently suing Ethan Klein for repeatedly calling him a terrorist. So based on the evidence that we have, this one's also kind of bullshit.
Yep.
And finally, Hasan is anti-Semitic. This claim could be its own.
Oh, God. I don't know. Again, like with this one, you pick a dart up, throw it at the fucking board. It could be fucking anything. That because of stuff he said about rapes during October 7th. saying that the dynamic would not change at all. I think I'm paraphrasing the quote there a little bit, but basically what he's saying there is the situation on the ground in terms of the more than likely crimes that that Hamas did during October 7th, because like I said before, and I'll reiterate this point again, did rapes happen by Hamas on October 7th? More than likely, yes. And that is what the UN has basically said, because they only have corroborating evidence for the fucking claims. Now, what the claims the Israelis, generally speaking, make is that this was systemic by Hamas. There is zero evidence to suggest that that is the case. And the reason why that is the fucking case, for example, is when the UN was trying to go in to investigate said claims by the Israelis, because that is a serious international fucking crime, what exactly fucking happened? The Zaka brigades, which are, I believe, like, the people who I think recover the dead mostly, after, like, violent actions or some shit that happens, right? Paraphrasing a little bit here. May have contaminated the fucking evidence of people who may have been raped, quote unquote. And also, Israel has done state propaganda with a lot of the victims who may have been raped, right? But whenever the UN tries to investigate any of that stuff, and also it has come out that her story has been somewhat inconsistent as well. Not to downplay what she's fucking saying here, right? But there has been acknowledgments that from the fucking family and one of the fucking victims saying that, yeah, our story has basically been used for propaganda and we're not particularly happy about that, but whatever. But whenever the UN tries to do any form of investigations talking about these systemic rapes that have happened against Israeli citizens on October 7th, Israel conveniently does everything possible in order to disrupt the process. Well, that's a little interesting, isn't it? Now, why would Israel want to do that? Why would they want to discourage the international fucking body, that being the UN, of course, looking to try to investigate the claims of systemic rapes being done by Hamas, rather, on October 7th? Why would they not, if they think that is something that is very clear and evident that has happened, why would Israel try to do everything possible to prevent any form of formal investigation being done by international bodies? Seems like a reasonable question to ask, huh? Why would they do that? Because probably the claims are either A, completely exaggerated at best, or false at worst.
Its own video, and this one's long enough as it is, so I'll keep this brief too. The evidence that people cite for Hasan being anti-Semitic is either extremely amorphous and vague, or simply not good evidence at all. There's him calling a chatter pig dog.
You fucking bloodthirsty, violent pig dog! Suck my dick!
Which people claimed was an anti-Semitic slur, even though it doesn't appear in common anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it's not. Calling someone a fucking... Like, that's a communist thing, right? They'll call pig dogs. And that's mostly like a meme from Red Alert games, I'm gonna be honest here. Like, that shit that you get from fucking Red Alert 3, for fuck's sake. Like, honestly, that's just a fucking meme. Like, stupid. Bro, 20-year-old game. Good game. You should play Red Alert 3. It's very, very, very camp, very fun. It's a good game.
Glossaries, and Hasan primarily uses it to describe capitalists and imperialists.
You imperialist, capitalist pig dog, you fucking violent murderer of the third world.
There's him calling Orthodox Jewish settlers inbred, which was clearly just supposed to be an insult.
Hi, Josh Gottheimer, which made a fucking bipartisan condemn Hasan Piker bill. Fucking moron. And again, like, yeah, he wasn't saying that all Jews are inbred. He was saying that racists are fucking inbred. I don't know, it's just kind of dumb.
Directed at people who subscribe to a racist ideology, not Jewish people as a group.
You know, the broad majority of the ultra-Orthodox are also unimaginably racist and very much pro-Israel. I can't wait for these inbred motherfuckers to have to serve and see what happens to the IDF.
And beyond that, most of the rest of it are just these nebulous, broader claims about his positions on Israel and how they point to an underlying bigotry. But almost every single
Which, again, by the way, I've said this before and I'll say it again, because we're in the Israel fucking segment, I guess, in terms of all of this. conflations of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, because that's what they essentially want to do, by saying that all Jewish people are Zionists, is anti-Semitic in of itself, and is an explicit tactic done by Theodor Herzl when he initially created the ideology behind Zionism, which is again an ethno-nationalist political ideology in comparison to that of Judaism, which is a religious and a cultural affiliation. I feel like I'm going to be constantly saying that till the cows come home.
Example that people use for this often could be better explained by him simply being anti-Zionist. For instance, people often point to things like Hasan saying that rapes having happened on October 7th wouldn't change his perspective as evidence of anti-Semitism. But that's not anti-Semitic. It's actually a pretty consistent application of Hasan's anti-imperialist framework. And if there's a perceived double standard in how aggressively he talks about Israel versus other actors, it could very easily be explained by his own family background in the Middle East, or the region's history, rather than automatically assuming it's just secret racial animus towards Jews. He isn't uniquely fixated on Jews.
Which, again, by the way, the reason why these people, Zionists specifically, want to make it all about a racial animus specifically is because that's how they can continue to justify the actions of Israel within Gaza and the fucking West Bank. Again, ethno-nationalist fucking ideology. That's what Zionism is.
Jewish institutions. He applies this same lens to American imperialism, Saudi Arabia, capitalism, and plenty of other power structures. I think in 2026, if you look for anti-Semitism hard enough, you'll kind of see what you want to see. But the idea that this progressive, leftist, anti-class, equality-minded type of audience are actually secretly racist towards this one group of people, it's a pretty big stretch when these people are consistently anti-racist on every other axis. Now, the more sophisticated version of this argument is that even if Hasan never says anything explicitly anti-Semitic, his rhetoric still functions to foster hostility towards Jewish people, even if that isn't his intent. This is basically
like the question is, yeah, trying to make this whole structural racism fucking argument in reverse, and it's just like, motherfucker, how? If anything, because Hasan has made it very explicit that he constantly says this, that Judaism and Zionism is not the same thing. He makes sure to go after the conflation all the time. Like, if anything, okay, how about this, motherfucker? Uno reverse card on you. You people constantly conflate Judaism with Zionism all the fucking goddamn time. Yet we want to, like, you want me to fucking believe that you are coming at this from, like, a principled fucking stance? Shut the fuck up. No, you're not.
basically the functional racism version of the argument. It's the same thing as saying voter ID laws are racist. It's not because the people writing them necessarily want to disenfranchise black people, but because they do disproportionately cause that to happen. But for one, that argument requires you to subscribe to a view of racism that isn't really speaking to the character or intent of the individual, which kind of makes it have less bite. And two, that's if you subscribe to that framework, which I personally don't. So in my opinion, calling Hasan anti-Semitic isn't even misleading. It's just not substantiated.
Just stupid.
There are obviously a lot more claims we could go through, but the pattern is pretty clear. The lies about Hasan Piker that come from this side of the internet are pervasive, they're widespread, and an embarrassing number of them fall apart under even mild scrutiny. This video was focused on the drama and commentary side of this dynamic. Ethan Klein, the people around him, and what they've done to the content creation ecosystem over the last couple of years. But truthfully, this is only half of the story. Hasan also gets a hysterical level of hate from a more genuinely politically oriented crowd too, and that stuff could probably be its own.
Hi, Lonerbox, who's essentially just completely cucked the DGG. Honestly, with Dylan Burns, he has like some actual like substantive critiques on Hasan's Ukraine takes, to be quite honest. But would I be surprised if Dylan Burns also engaged in some of the more like deranged stuff? Not really, but honestly, with like Dylan Burns, for example, it's mostly just like actual like criticisms of Hasan's Ukraine takes, of which there is stuff to criticize there.
Video. But at some point, the commentary slop guys started getting courted by the politics sphere to the Hasan bad cause anyway. And then when you have creators like Hutch, who covered Collargate for a month straight, and whose channel often looks almost indistinguishable from NuxTaku's, it's just at a certain point, these two groups kind of start to morph together into this big, neurotic mess, and it just gets a little hard to keep taking them as seriously. Now, there are decent criticisms of Hasan. For example, in his interview with Rashid, he laughs along at the idea of Houthi pirates dancing and having fun with their captives, which could be Hasan basically sanitizing a Stockholm Syndrome type of situation. If you're gonna have this type of interview, you probably—
Yep, like I said before, like I've criticized Hasan for like some of the conduct that he had, like because I just think like, yeah, that's like, what are you doing, Hasan? You're optically presenting yourself in a really stupid way, even if you are quote unquote apparently, well, interviewing a Houthi, which is not the case, which got discovered pretty much like instantaneously in the interview. Like, dumb. Like we can have again criticisms of Hasan that are actually fucking honest, and that's an honest one.
need to come in more prepared to handle those moments responsibly. He's also an extremely sloppy communicator, and at a certain point, if you're getting clipped dishonestly this much, you gotta be doing something wrong somewhere. And there are plenty of these. You know, he does tend to moderate his views in contentious conversations. He does have some questionable opinions on oppressive governments. One of my big ones is that he has on occasion spread misinformation that I think he should retract or correct. There are fair critiques to make, but we sort of left the realm of reasonable, honest perception of Hasan a long time ago, and we're now in the land of Hasan is literally like Hitler. And this Hasan bad virus has gone mainstream. Every week it seems like there's a new article from a big publication trying to convince people how terrible.
And this is honestly the biggest fucking consequence, which I'm glad that Kilo is also pointing out to specifically. The fact that the mainstream of like Hasan bad is so it is here now. Stemming from like unironically a collection of either alleged pedophiles, rapists, groomers, fucking morons, and genuinely ostensible fucking weirdos. Like these like complete utter freaks who have just mainstreamed Hasan fucking bad, which is honestly like the biggest fucking problem in terms of all of this. It's just like, brother, like Jesus Christ, man. Like it's just, I don't know, like I don't know how else to describe it besides say it's just fucking wild to me.
Hasan is, often citing these out-of-context clips or quotes that came from our side of the internet. Dan Selman is even writing news articles now, pretending to give some thoughts on a Senate race in Michigan, but in reality, it's just about Hasan. It's always just about Hasan. This is like kind of insane. Whatever you can honestly say about Hasan Piker, he isn't fucking dangerous. He doesn't deserve to be deplatformed. He's just a
fucking dumbass. Like he's a himbo. Like honestly, that's the best thing. He's not the best at communicating, which I agree with. I don't think he's the best at communicating. He's a bit of a stupid himbo, and he can get a little inflammatory in rhetoric. Just like, honestly, any one of these other guys, and they have said significantly fucking worse things in comparison to Hasan. So, hyper-specifically fixating on Hasan, like, I don't know, man. It's just dumb. It's ridiculous.
Goofy Turkish dude saying crazy political shit from his gaming room.
If I step foot wearing this outfit into I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I can't wear my skirt in Tehran. I can't eat Kubi Day. Whoopee, don't you understand? I can't wear bikini.
Not Hasan doing a little bit of critical racist theory. What the heck? Now this is my kind of shit. This is some fucking premium critical racist theory.
To the beach. So obviously, they all need to die. We need to kill them.
So whether you're one of these teen liberals people blaming Hasan for all their self-inflicted problems, or you're a slop commentary YouTuber who won't know what to do if you have to cover anything else, please, by all means, hate Hasan, but just be fucking honest about it. This whole Hasan derangement thing, especially recently, has gotten completely out of control. Because here's what's kind of telling. Hasan, despite the smear campaigns, despite people trying to take his dog, despite being called a terrorist and an anti-Semite and a rapist, he's never sued anybody. He's never tried to get anyone deplatformed or gone after entire websites.
In terms of fucking principle in all of this, Hasan has acted way better than every other one of these fucking content creators who have unironically committed constant social faux pas. Especially with Ethan Klein, who has done nothing but social faux pas with his like schizophrenic fucking conniption that he has overall with Hasan. And 1000% Boy Meets Mini. He could have done copyright strikes on all of this stuff easily, and he would be justified in doing so. But he doesn't do it, right? Because of the social stigmatism behind all of that, right? And honestly, you can make the fucking arguments that what he's doing in terms of copyright striking all of these motherfuckers who put out just baseless fucking slander and lies against him would be absolutely 1000% fucking justified, right? And I would defend it. Absolutely. I would defend it because we've taken a look over what these people put out in terms of content. It's lies. It ranges from just like genuine just derangement to just complete fucking utter lies. And it's just like, brother, like what are we doing here? Like what the fuck are we doing here? Like, you people are psychotic and are not interested in actual honest engagement. Because the point is that it was never about the honest engagement with these guys. Never. It was never about that whatsoever.
Turns out, Hasan, not bad. Hasan, pretty good actually. Ethan Klein, on the other hand, just recently filed a lawsuit against Noah Samsen for the opinion that Ethan was through his content.
This is either the third or the second lawsuit he has filed against Noah Samsen specifically, which again, we all know why Ethan Klein does this shit specifically is to silence critics of his. We've gone over this. Kilo has done more than enough work to substantiate that fucking claim.
The choices, running defense for a genocide. That's Noah's belief. Ethan wants to control whether Noah is allowed to express it, and every creator who's been profiting off of Hasan bad while also cheering on Ethan's anti-free speech behavior should ironically probably be thanking Hasan for not holding them to the same standard that they're celebrating. You know, for not being like Ethan. The thing about people like Ethan, who try to convince people that they're wrong.
Which again, all those people I think should be fucking copyright striked, and like, I'm a bit of an extremist on this, okay? I'll admit. These motherfuckers should face consequences for these fucking actions because it's the only way that the people are going to learn. Hasan decided to be like, it's just going to happen, and I'm just going to let it fizzle out and die off. And he's just going to keep doing his own thing. Which is ultimately what he decided to do. He unironically decided to take the fucking high road in all of this. Unironically decided to take the fucking high road. Because guess what? If he wanted to be a petty little bitch about this, he could have been a petty little fucking bitch about this. And I would have just been like, yeah, I think that's justified. Absolutely. Like, these people are deranged. They're crazy. They're insane. And all the arguments are just fucking terrible. And you'd have some grounds to do this on. But he didn't. He didn't. He decided to fucking take the high road. Which is why I'm now mostly saying, because of that reasoning alone, the Hasan bad sort of content, like this industrial complex of Hasan fucking bad, has officially, I think, reached its crest. And is about to probably depreciate into nothing. All the content creators that engage in Hasan bad content plateaued or are irrelevant or are losing popularity, especially in the case of Ethan Klein. It's not going anywhere. It's not working. And eventually these people are going to start thinking about pivoting. Looking at you, Pigless Eats Oreos. At some point in time, these motherfuckers are going to come to the recognition that it's over. And it's, I would say, probably getting at that point, right? And it's, honestly, I have no idea what the fuck like more Pegasus is going to mostly do if he doesn't have Hasan bad content to cover shittily, probably. I don't even want to know how fucking terrible that content is. Whatever. I was thinking about doing an examination to Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically. In terms of the Hasan bad content that he, generally speaking, engages in. You know, you would think that Pegasus would actually be good at doing Hasan bad content with the Millennium Eye so he could read people's minds, but, you know, I guess not. Too much of a fucking dumbass, I guess. Memes aside. I was thinking about, like, doing an examination into him at something, like, at some point in time. Maybe just to, like, dunk on him, just make fun of him, but, like, what's the point, man? Like, who cares? Like, he's a lolcow. Like, this guy's a fucking clown. He's stupid. It's like what is there to go through? Like, this guy's a schizo. Who the fuck cares, right? Move on. And I think that's kind of the conclusion that I'm arriving at now with, like, more Pegasus. That he's just a roving fucking freak, and there's no point at all in talking with him, about him, whatsoever. But back to the main original point. Unironically, like, Hasan, out of all of this, decided to take the high road and just let it die off. And I think we're starting to see it completely die off. All these content creators are either plateauing, losing views, or losing subscribers. Because it's just not working. Like, who the fuck cares? This campaign that's been going on for the latter part of about, well, technically speaking, 2 years, but I would argue and say that it was actually 6 years, is starting to just, it's not working. It's dying off. Hasan has not suffered any consequences at all whatsoever. He still has relevance in the mainstream, or he's getting more relevant within the fucking mainstream. He is also starting to have stronger ties and associations with political candidates. He's fucking campaigning with people with, like, political candidates, right? For the Senate, for the mayoralship of New York, Zohran Mamdani, of course, for tons of highly prominent political positions. It's not working. It's over. It's fucking done, right? And just because of that, I think we can pretty much put the nail on the fucking coffin of Hasan bad. It's a failure. It's a campaign that's just not going anywhere. But these motherfuckers will still try. Like, Tectone, for example, is trying to pivot off in order to do just, like, drama slop content, and probably won't be talking that much about fucking politics anymore because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, right? Pigless Eats Oreos is already looking to try to get off the fucking Ethan Klein train because, again, like, it's doing nothing. I don't know what the fuck Dan Stalkman is going to do. Besides, like, I don't know, continue to have his, like, schizophrenic fucking conniption. Like, whatever. Like, I really do think it's all fucking over. Like, it's done. Like, these people are just deranged fucking freaks, and people are only going to start to look at them more and more and more as deranged fucking freaks. Because these people are all just a bunch of deranged morons. And I think this fucking video here does a very, very good job at outlining how fucking, like, crazy these motherfuckers are.
For expressing their opinion, for criticizing them, or even just for hating them. They are the ones with the problem. They are the ones who can't help themselves from going out of their way to read every word that people write about them. They're insecure or rational.
Oh yeah, fucking Ethan Klein also unironically doxed someone on his fucking giant platform. Like, it's insane.
Thinkers who desperately want to control how people perceive them, and it drives them crazy that they can't. So whether it's Willie Mac, or Idubbbz, or me, or anybody else in this video, talk your shit about them. You shouldn't let somebody like Tectone convince you that you're the wrong one for believing that he's a sexual predator. Don't let Nicolas DeOrio dissuade you from calling him out for being a giant pathetic loser. Talk your shit, and let other people talk their shit to you. Even if you truly hate the guy, you should be a Hasan. Don't be an Ethan. Before we go, there's someone I want to introduce. It's a guy who's one of the great internet philosophers of our time, and he's somebody I think Ethan Klein would have a lot in common with. His name's John Card, and in his video on pirate software, he has something to say that I think applies to Ethan Klein perfectly.
There's some people out there in the world who think it's just inherently wrong or regressive or childish to hate people or to rail against public figures online or whatever. And those people are wrong. Wrong, and just trying to run cover for all the other people in the world who deserve criticism. When you find someone who deserves all the hate they're getting, and much, much more, encourage that hate. Feed it. Remind yourself and others that it's perfectly okay, good even, to wish all the worst in the world on this guy and people like him. You shouldn't just merely dislike the man or simply disagree with his opinions. You should hate him and everything he stands for and represents.
Thank you, John Card, for describing myself to a fucking T. Because I'm gonna tell you, that describes me to a fucking T. I will always admit, I am a fucking hater. And that guess what? The people that I go after fucking deserve all the hate that they get. Because all these motherfuckers that we have gone over are either a collection of sexual abusers, potential pedos, fucking groomers, are fucking morons as well, and have so many fucking allegations against them, you could fucking write a book about it. And guess what? They are motherfuckers who deserve that fucking hate. Oh yeah, does Ethan Klein look like John Wayne Gacy? Oh man, playing off of the does Harvey Weinstein look like, or Ryan Kavanaugh look like Harvey Weinstein? That's good. That's good. I think that's a perfect fucking bow to neatly wrap this all up. I agree. Yeah, the Fetterman face swap with Ethan is also fucking gold. That's fucking funny as fuck as well. But yes, a conclusion to all of this. I think Hasan bad content has reached its cresting point and will only go down. And I do solemnly believe that we are probably going to see a significantly just dampening down on Hasan bad content. I guess to get back to the main overall thesis of this 3-hour fucking video. Oh boy, 3 hours long. To get back to the main overall thesis, I think it's fucking over, right? Like, I think we will begin to see a lot of these individuals start to immediately pivot off of the wanting to feed Ethan Klein's schizophrenic fucking delusions to not paying attention to anything from fucking Dan Saltman because it's so obvious and fucking clear, because people have already been leaving the fucking orbit that these people are fucking liars, that they don't fundamentally believe in anything, and will gladly and happily spread nothing more than a bunch of misinformation and bullshit for what exactly? In order to try to claim that someone like Hasan is bad in, I think, some of the worst ways fucking possible. And it's just bad fucking criticisms, right? And it's only making the content creation sphere significantly fucking worse, and is decreasing the quality of content that is, well, being created within the commentary sphere. Ethan said that with his lawsuits against Frogan, Denims, and also Caseytron was an attempt to try to protect the commentary sort of space and the reaction sort of space. I disagree with this wholeheartedly. It has literally done everything worse in order to make these spaces significantly fucking worse. But the only reason why Ethan is doing all of this is simply for his own sort of guilty pleasure and schizophrenic fucking delusions. Wholeheartedly so. There's no principle behind any of the actions behind Ethan or any of these other detractors. They have made their sort of position rather fucking clear. Yes, Boy Meets Mini, I don't think he's getting paid that $7K either. But it's very clear that these motherfuckers, they don't care. They're grifters. They are most of them are self-admitted fucking grifters, and that there is just absolutely no fucking point in engaging with them in terms of this particular Hasan bad access, which I think is going to depreciate and essentially fall by the wayside. Because, again, it's just, well, complete fucking bullshit. If you take a look through the claims, as Kilo has done an excellent job at doing such, I think I've also helped to try to add more the political perspective in terms of a lot of those sort of like takes as well. At least I hope so. In my mind, at the very least. And it is an acknowledgement that I think we have originally crested the metaphorical peak of this content, and we're probably going to see a significant decrease in terms of this, shall we say, slop. And will there be a return to form of higher quality content from these slop channels? Probably not. But at the very least, it's not going to be the exact same fucking dog shit like Maelstrom, like the metaphorical human centipede of regurgitated fucking slop that these merchants constantly put out for an audience of clapping fucking seals, of just barely brain functioning fucking troglodytes who could give less of a flying fuck about any principle, about the truth, and any sort of social fucking conduct in any of this, and instead would rather just talk about like, I don't know, like a particular targets instead of having like any sort of like principle or base understanding in terms of any of the fucking positions that they pretend to hold or outline whatsoever. What I'm ultimately hopeful for is that this sort of peak of content has now officially crested and will just fade away into the absolute fucking obscurity that it always has been and always should have been. Don't think there's really much else to say besides that.